Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome. What a craptastic morning. I'll tell you about mine coming up here momentarily. It is not the way you want to start off your day, I'll tell you that. Good to have you on the program today. Brewers lose last night. And there's some good news to that. But the Brewers take it on the chin. Game 1 against the Pirates. The Brewers have now lost 2 in a row after going 3 straight against the Cardinals. You've got a partial. A few games have been put out there. One of them I am joyous about. And so anyway, that being said, we'll talk about some NFL stuff. Packers camps getting going and such. We'll get into the Packers discussion as well. We got all kinds of sound for you today. We've got Chuck Freeman's going to be here today. Kurt Hogue is from the Journal-Sentinel going to be here today. So we got a lot to get to. 877-867-1670. That's the phone number, 877-867-1670. You can hit us up on the text line at 608-321-1670. And thanks to everybody that does, because I don't try to ignore anybody. I try to at least read them. And I do for the most part. Yesterday, we had so many came in. I apologize. I didn't get to everybody. But we still try to get to everybody we possibly can. 608-321-1670. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. The Bill Michaels Show. You can also find us on TikTok under the same name. The YouTube channel is simply Bill Michaels Show. And it's free to subscribe, free to like us, all that kind of stuff. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. Click on subscribe, and then every time we go on the air, we're right there at your fingertips. You can swipe us and get rid of us, or you can take a listen or watch. It's an easy way to do it. Twitch TV, Kick TV under the Twitch app and the Kick app. LinkedIn, the same thing. Bill Michaels on LinkedIn. TheBillMichaels@gmail.com is the old-fashioned email way to get a hold of us. TheBillMichaels@gmail.com. You can find TheBillMichaels.com is the website. Then you've got to the app, which is the Zone, WOZN, the Zone Madison. And then the podcast side of things, After the Fact, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast, and wherever your favorite podcasts are. Grant, how is your day today?
Very uneventful, and nothing memorable has happened to me so far, so it sounds like the opposite of the day that you've had so far.
Mine sucks. I got up this morning, had a good workout, went to the gym, the whole thing. And I thought I'd get in early. I've got this wedding this weekend, so I'm going to go. The girl that I usually go see, she opens up in the morning. I'm going to go and get my hair cut. And this has happened before where I get there and there's already people in line. So it's first come, first serve. You can't make an appointment at that early. So I'm like, okay, crap, I can't get my hair cut. Then I go where I usually go. I've got a membership to get my car washed. And they can't find my membership. And I'm like, well, you just took my money yesterday. And then the guy starts arguing with me. I finally said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get out of here. And then he couldn't believe it. Like, I didn't want a car wash. I'm like, no, I don't. We'll work it out later. I got to go. So here at the house for the last, I don't know, month or so, every time I get this really heavy rain, I notice I'm getting like trickles of water. And I've never gotten water in this house before, but I'm getting trickles of water in the house. I'm like, what the hell? So the other day and yesterday, when it rained hard, I noticed out back on the back patio that where the downspout goes into the ground, water is bubbling up out of it. I'm like, oh, okay, something's clogged down there. So I pulled the gutter off and I looked at it. I can't tell. I can't see it. I can't reach my arm down there. And I don't even know where that drain goes. I don't know if it goes to a sewer pipe or where the hell it goes, because I don't know where the outlet is out in front of my house. So I couldn't tell you. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll figure this out. So I called a company. It's like called Pipe Cleaners or Clogged Pipes or something. And they were recommended to me by a friend of mine. He said, give them a call. I said, okay. They said, well, we'll come out and do it, for you, no problem. But we don't like Roto-Root. We do Hydrojet. I said, that whatever it is, that's fine. I just want to get this thing cleaned out because it's now affecting my home inside the house. Okay, great. So he says, where do you live? I said, well, I live, Waukesha, Brookfield. He's like, oh, that's an extra $100. I'm like, you're from where? And I think they're coming from like Tosa. I'm like, that's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, whatever. So they get here, they're here maybe 10 minutes. And comes out, he said, hey, I got some news for you. I'm like, and anytime they say, give us a call or come out and check this out, it's never good. And he said, here, look. And where they were hydrojetting, about 6 feet away from the pipe, there's a hole now about 2 feet wide in the ground. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And he said, the pipes must have burst and cracked underneath the ground. And so as we're hydrogetting, all the soil is coming down from where the crack is, entering the pipe and then flowing out to the street or wherever it goes to. But you've got a cracked pipe. And this, like 10 minutes later, that's all they've been here. I didn't even have time to come up and turn the studio on. I said, well, do you guys do that? And he said, no. He said, it's not a deep pipe. It's only about, 3 feet down. You could probably do it yourself, but that's what the problem is. I said, okay, thanks so much. $700 for 10 minutes to tell me, your pipe's cracked. Nothing we can do. Like, you got to be crapping me. I could have, I should have just had longer arms. I could have stuck my fist down there and called it a day. But yeah, $700 to basically be told, nothing we can do. So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So that's the morning. So now, not only did I spend $700, but now I've got to take the labor time and get out there and start digging trenches and replacing pipes. And hopefully, I've never done this before. Hopefully, I can even do it, because otherwise, you got to call a company to come out and do that. And I don't even know who to call. I said, should I call a plumber, or who do I call? And he said, maybe a landscape company might be able to do it. He said, but we don't do that. So now I've got a hole, and the downspout, I had to leave it off because I can't put it back because it's draining to nowhere. And so I've got a wedding this weekend. So after today, there's nothing I can do. So unless I can do it all today, there's nothing I can do. I got tomorrow, I've got meetings, and then Thursday we're on the road to Potawatomi, and Thursday night we got meetings, and then Friday weddings and stuff. So I'm like, son of a, and we're supposed to get storms. So I'm like, maybe I'll just run up to Home Depot or something and get one of those flexible downspouts and just run it out to the yard until I can get this thing fixed. But yeah, that $700 for 10 minutes. I would have had better luck in like the casino doing that than $700 for 10 minutes, So anyway, that's my morning, man. That's the way today started out.
It's a peril of being a homeowner, I suppose.
It is.
It is a little funny. He's like, nothing we can do. You owe us $700.
That's exactly what he said. I said, okay. I said, I'm getting ready to go upstairs. I got to do some work, because they don't know me. They don't know what I do. I said, I got to do some work. How do you guys handle this? He said, we need a check. And I said, okay, great. And they want to charge you like 3 or 4% if you use a credit card, which I understand because I do it too, for certain things. And I said, no, I'll cut you a check. No problem. And I'm thinking, hey, just for us to come out here and tell you that, we'll cut you a price, whatever, a couple $100. We were only here 10 minutes. Okay, great. Nope. $650 plus tax. Here we go. How are we looking? It's like $680 something, $689 or $687 or something like that. Yeah, $700 to say you're screwed. Son of a, that's how your morning starts out. After, I got to admit, last night I was watching a Brewers game and I turned it off too early. Brewers are down, and it just didn't look good. Rhys Hoskins goes down with the hamstring, and I'm like, crap. So, and they're down, 4-0, I think, at that point. I'm like, okay, this one probably pretty much over. And so I go to bed. I'm flipping around. I couldn't sleep. I wake back up. I was watching some Sports Center, and then I see they came back and made a game of it. And I'm like, you know what? I feel better about the loss. I just do. I feel better about the loss. I'm not happy that starting pitching is giving them so many problems, because they had trouble with starting pitching in Chicago. They had trouble with starting pitching, obviously, in this first game against Pittsburgh yesterday or 2 days ago against the Cardinals, and then obviously couldn't put any runs into the back end. But, hey, they get 3 out of 4 against St. Louis. I'm feeling really good about it. And then you lose to the Pirates, man. The Pirates are kind of reeling right now. So I'm hopefully they get the next couple. They get tonight's game and then tomorrow's day game, and then an off day on Thursday before you go on this 10-game road trip. But man, or 10-day road trip. But I'm like, God, at least they made a game of it. Now, if you bounce back today, and much like we saw earlier in the season when they had that, game that they battled back from, and then they made more of it after the fact because they ended up getting a couple more wins, then it's all for, then it's all for the good. But if you battle back and you lose, and then you lose again today, and you lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, and in doing so, you lose first place, and then it's kind of a very hollow comeback last night. But at least I felt a little more inspired last evening than what I would have when I went to bed had I woke up with the exact same score this morning. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but that's just kind of the way I looked at it. Then in the meantime, you've got the leaking out and they're going to drop the schedule, the full NFL schedule tomorrow. I'm a little surprised they didn't do it on Thursday, because they usually do it on a Thursday and they make a big deal out of it, and tomorrow they're going to do it instead. But and it's like a week late. But we did find out that Aaron Rodgers reigns supreme, and he's going to be starting out the season on Monday Night Football. However, at a place that he traditionally does not win. He's going to San Francisco, and that made me smile. They're going to put Aaron Rodgers in San Francisco against the team that didn't draft him with the chip on his shoulder at a place he traditionally does not win consistently in his comeback from a busted Achilles over the age of 40 with a craptastic team. So that gave me a little pause for grin this morning. How about you, Grant? Did you, when you saw that, did you go, that's gonna be a nice one to watch?
Well, it starts to feel real. And this is just another example of how nuts we are for football is, it's May and the games don't start until September, but now you simply tell us, it's going to be the Niners and the Jets on Monday night. Like, we start to get excited. It's 5-6 months away.
Right.
We got the entire summer, but just having a date and 2 teams on the calendar, it feels so good.
Yep. No, I would agree with that. I just smiled because I thought to myself, chalk it up. It's already a loss. Jets are starting off 0-1 on the season. They're not going to win that game. Rodgers doesn't play well going home. He's always pressed. He doesn't have much of a team around him. They picked up a couple of players here or there. Got some receiver, but I don't think they win that game. So I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. So that made me smile, and we all know that we're on the cusp of finding out what the schedule is going to be. Which finally, I don't know about you, Grant, but the football season comes with a little bit of trepidation because what happens is like already there's maybe 5 to 10 dates that are booked on my calendar that are all question marks and dependent upon what happens with the schedule. So there's certain games that, in certain weekends where there's stuff going on, like Oktoberfest and broadcasts and Tomahawk and broadcasts and Wednesday night huddles and broadcasts and stuff like that, that should this schedule butt into the way of certain things and certain promises that we had to make and shows we have to do, then all that stuff has to be rearranged. So for our own, more personal than anything, scheduling, I can't wait for the NFL schedule to get out because then I can finally say, okay, everything that I need to do is set in stone and I know exactly when and where I'm going to be for the remainder of 2024. And that's one thing I do enjoy is finally I can plan out the rest of the year because we're so busy and we can finally plan out the rest of the year running into 2024. Here's something I do have to ask you though. There's a lot of talk in this next collective bargaining agreement, which is not going to be up for a few years, but there's a lot of talk about the NFL going to 2 games in the preseason instead of 3 and an 18-game season. And they want to push back the Super Bowl yet another week. Are you in favor of that?
I think it's fine. 18 is a nice round number, and then that would put the Super Bowl in line with President's Day, right? Which is a holiday for some, but not for everybody. But it is, in theory, a 3-day weekend, so I'd be fine with it. Yeah, 1 fewer preseason game. I want some preseason. You don't get rid of the whole thing, but 2 games I feel like is enough.
I don't mind that if, and this is a big if they don't bump into, and they have traditionally stayed away from Labor Day weekend. But if they bump up the season, which there's talk of doing that they would then make Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of Labor Day weekend an NFL weekend to kick off their season. There's some talk of that. And because they're trying to do it like the start of December or start of September. And I mean, personally, we've got our motorcycle ride that weekend and we're not going to move it. I don't even move it for the NFL. So screw them. But they're trying to do that too. And they've traditionally left that alone because that's usually the first week or two of Friday Night Lights and high school football. And they've never tried to really interfere with that. They've always been good with that. And now they're talking about doing that too. Now, that is very much nothing more than a rumor, but they are trying to go to an 18-game season and they are trying to push it back into President's Day weekend. And I don't have a big problem with it. What I have a problem with is you're pushing into everybody. And again, personally speaking, but you're pushing into people that then need to turn around a week later or 2 weeks later. And then you got to go back on the road again because you're heading out to spring trainings facilities, and you're covering, mid-season NBA, you're covering the end of college basketball, because once you, get out of February, you're into March, and suddenly March Madness and people start covering that. You're pushing up against that stuff because in the second week of February, you're also getting into the beginning of some of those end of the seasons, some of the smaller markets or smaller conferences, end of the season when you get into conference basketball tournaments and such. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. I think an 18-game season, that's a long season, man. Because they're talking about also giving you 2 weeks of bye weeks during the season. And if they do that, I can only see them doing that if they push the season back into President's Weekend and then push it up to Labor Day weekend, which is what they're talking about doing. And I know we love football, but is there ever a point that too much is too much? So I want to get into that too. We got a lot to get into today. A whole bunch of stuff, as a matter of fact. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Stick around. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming back. We'll be back coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright. It's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 48 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 48 months when you order by May 31st. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 5/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The only thing I asked for as the NFL schedule release came out was do not let the Jets open on Monday night. No. Whatever else happens, don't let the Jets open on Monday night. So what was I just told? Hey, Roger, what did I do to you? What did I do? We just got together at the draft. It was so nice. I do the best I can to be as friendly as I can to everybody. The Jets are opening on Monday night at San Francisco.
Oh, good, a road game.
Against one of the toughest defensive lines in the world. I have seen this movie. It ends quickly and very, very badly. I'm saying this right now. This is not fair. I want an investigation. This is anti-large market bias that we have going on right now. I want an investigation into this. I'm telling you, I don't think we should send Aaron on the trip. Do not send Aaron on the trip.
Welcome back to the program, and that is the reason that Mike Greenberg has become a caricature and a whining, sniveling, craptastic turd of a broadcaster. Between that and all of his obnoxious, over-the-top takes and stupidity, his I don't know. He's like wearing sandpaper underwear, man. Just grates the hell out of you. Just like a rash on your ass. That's all he is. Welcome back to the program. After that description, how are we looking? Bill Michaels Show. This portion of the program brought to you by the Water Doctors, our good friends, John Atley and the gang out there in Waukesha, Wisconsin. But they work with doctors all over the state of Wisconsin because they have the best water softening system out there. And I became a believer of this the first day I put it in my house. And I noticed about a week later that some of the grime that was on the faucet heads was gone. The calcification, the deposits, gone. Shower head, gone. The clothes were cleaner. You felt cleaner getting out of the shower, but more so than anything, I'm a big water drinker. I drink between 60 and 90 ounces of water a day, and I drink it right out of the reverse osmosis. No taste, and that's the way water's supposed to be. It's clean, clear, refreshing. My ice cubes are clear. They don't have a lot of cloudy haze in them. It is fantastic. I love the Connecticut system. Always have, always will. I've had other systems, so when people say, well, you don't know this, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I've had two of the most popular brands that are out there beyond this, and they both don't even compare to the Connecticut system, and they can't compare to the Connecticut system. They just don't. So give John Atley and the gang at the Water Doctors a call, 262-549-7733, anywhere in the state, and they can help you out. 262-549-7733, and do it. Here's another reason why, because they are unbelievably philanthropic. They give back to the community. They give back to veterans, military members, veterans' families, first responders. John is a big supporter of Fisher House. John is a board member, coming on as a board member for Big Unit Foundation. He's such a great guy and just puts his money where his mouth is and where his heart is. And we can't say thanks enough. So again, Water Doctors, H2, the letter O, H2ODoctors.com, or call them 262-549-7733. So there you go. So yeah, they are opening up the Jets on the road. And I am going to be sitting down with popcorn. I may have a cigar. I may have a beer. I may have a bourbon with a beer chaser. I don't know, but I am going to be sitting there and watching the beginning of the end of the New York Jets. I love it. I love the fact that they got to go to San Fran. That's been a place that I get. Grant, how many wins do you think Aaron Rodgers has in San Francisco? 2?
In his career, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, they won that a couple of years ago, that close one.
Right.
Oh, it can't be much more than what, 2 or 3?
Right. I can't. It can't be much more than that. I don't know. I don't know what the total number is, but let's see here. Aaron Rodgers versus San Francisco. He is, it doesn't tell you where it's at. Go back to 2009. He won, but it doesn't tell you where it's at. Got a craptastic site. StatMuse sucks. Let's see here. Trying to see if I can find it somewhere. Anyway, I want to find out what his record is there. Because all I know is in recent history, it has not boded well for him. He won once in 21 there. Against San Francisco, he's 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 5, 6-3. He's 6-3 against San Francisco. But I don't know how many times he's won there. Because he just hasn't played. He's always pressed when he goes to San Francisco. It's like he's got to prove something. He's played great, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of times where he did not have a good game. I mean, you go back to 2019, he was terrible. Had a quarterback rating of 75.8, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the playoff game there, and they were terrible.
So I got Zach in here. We've found 3, 18, 19, and 2021. What'd you say, Zach? 15, 2020, and 2021. Those are the only wins we can find in San Francisco.
Okay. So he won in 2015, won in 2018, you said, and then 2021. Okay.
I have no memory of that 2015 game.
None at all. But I know that the 2019 game. Well, no, I can't remember. One of them was a playoff game there, and it was terrible.
They got blasted twice in San Francisco that year, right? There was the Sunday night game coming out of the bye or going into the bye, and then the NFC Championship game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he's 6-3 against the 49ers. I just don't know what it is on the road in San Francisco. So anyway, not that I want to get too into the minutia of that, but he doesn't normally play like on top of his game there. He's had some stinkers where he's just pressed, and he's talked about, time and again, it always comes up about them not drafting him number 1. They take Alex Smith instead, and he said San Francisco is going to be sorry, and it always seems like he's 3-4, David says, in San Francisco. He's 3-4 in San Francisco. Okay. There we go. At least that's coming from some of the people on the stream. Steven says he's 0-3 in San Francisco. I know he's got a couple of wins there. I know that. I was at one of them. And that was like 2015 or something like that. That was a while back, but because I was at that one. But beyond that, it's where the Jets are going to start off their season, and the Jets are outmanned. They're playing a very tough team, and going back to my whole premise, I'm going to be sitting there with a bourbon, a beer chaser, a cigar, and I'm going to watch the beginning and the end of the New York Jets. I'm going to take a lot of pride in that. So that's the point of this off the rails discussion, I guess, is the best way to put it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. This one's from Sarah. Sarah says, not rooting against Aaron Rodgers, but I'm certainly not rooting for the New York Jets to get a win, but I would love to see the Jets get a win, because you know what that would mean? That would mean that the San Francisco 49ers start out the season with a loss, and if the Packers get a win, the Packers would have a leg up on San Francisco. Should they meet each other in the postseason, it could end up being at Lambeau Field and not on the road again. There you go. Not on the road again. Tam says, I, like you, will be cheering on the demise of the New York Jets. I'm tired of listening to Aaron Rodgers bloviate about all the things that we should know, but we don't know, and only he knows. It's time for Rodgers to be knocked off his pedestal and to simply go away. Thank you very much. And then Marty says, when the full schedule is announced, I'm going to be giddy. I'm going to be sitting there tomorrow night with a glass of beer raised to my Green Bay Packers, who are going to have a very tough schedule this year, but they have earned it because they are a much better team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I say 11 wins on the season. That is from Marty. By the way, Marty listening to us in Sheboygan. So Marty, thanks so much for paying attention to us. So there you go. I'm going to be excited. So here's the question. Do you think that an 18-game season, 2 byes, starting on Labor Day weekend, ending on President's weekend, is the right amount, too much, not enough? Give me your thoughts. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Don't go anywhere. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you on today. Thanks so much for paying attention to the program. Let's talk a little NFL. Before we do that, I got to tell you about my friend Sean and the gang over at Epoxy Flooring and Done Right. I had a couple of people that reached out to him, got their floors done, and absolutely love it. One of them is a buddy of mine who owns a bar, and then another one, which he's not an advertiser, so but he is a buddy of mine, and he owns a bar, and he had his floor done, and it looks spectacular. Another one, John Adley and the gang over at the Water Doctors, their whole showroom is epoxy flooring, and it's beautiful. And if you've never seen, they made the epoxy flooring, and then they just threw an area rug down, and it's really nice. So whenever you go over to their showroom and check out the Connecticut water softening system, it's beautiful there, sitting on the epoxy flooring. And again, epoxy flooring done right, based right here in the state of Wisconsin. So God forbid you ever have a problem with it. You're not, because a lot of companies that advertise, if you see them on different social media platforms, you got to check. They're not all from here. They're from Northern Illinois or from over in either Iowa or Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And if you have a problem with it and you're trying to get them to come back into the state, good luck with that. Sean has fixed so many floors from problem dealers that are out there. It's not funny. And he always gives everybody a break, but, he spends almost as much time fixing bad floors as he does putting down his own. So he always says, hey, look, if you want it done right and want it done creatively, they're the ones to call. He just did a polyurea coating. I mean, it looks like you're walking on water at this guy's house. He wanted like this blue swirl to make it look like it was ocean water. Oh my God, it was beautiful. This polyurea coating. So regardless, whatever you're looking for, call him 262-443-2852. 262-443-2852. That's our friends over there at Epoxy Flooring Done Right. Epoxy Flooring Done Right. And they do magnificent work. Big time magnificent work. Walter, how you doing? Walter says hi from Racine, Wisconsin. So let's see here. What else do we have? This is from Jason. Jason says, too much football is never enough football. Are you kidding me? So I put it up there a little while ago, and I said, hey, look, if they go 18 games, 2 buys, they go into President's Day weekend and into Labor Day weekend, is that pushing it? Is that a little bit too much? And some say no. Others say, this one from David. David says, we're getting a little bit much with football. We've already got the UFL. We've got NFL pretty much 7 days a week, 365. Now they want to push back games, 2 bye weeks. How deep into the season are they going to go? Are we going to be sitting outside at Lambeau Field at the end of February? Well, if you're making it to the postseason, you very well could be, right? So, I mean, there's nothing new there, I guess. Then again, if the Bears have their way, the only outdoor stadium in the entire NFC North is going to be the Green Bay Packers. So you're the only one's going to be braving the element. It happens. It's what we do, right? I mean, I don't see a big problem with it. He says, I don't like starting on Labor Day weekend. That's usually our last family weekend together before the kids head off to school. And once they go to college, they're going to be gone even earlier than that. But I do love my NFL and can't get enough of it during the week. I am a junkie. There you go. Well, appreciate the email. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't. What's 1 week? I mean, if you go to an NFC Championship game and you're hosting, you're pretty much the last week of January anyway. You could get pushed back into February, maybe the first week. And we all know February, the end of January and into the month of February, those are the dark days of winter. Usually, not this year. This year was kind of crazy. But those are usually the dark days of winter. But beyond that, I don't see much of a problem with it. And then this one's from this is from Easy Dog. Easy Dog says, come on, man, let's be honest. Give me more football. Then you'll have more to talk about. Easy Dog, you're right in that aspect. People can't. This is a football state. As much as we love the Brewers, and we do, right? You cannot get enough football in this state. This is it's pretty much a football country now. The national pastime is the NFL. The national pastime has passed its time, and they are trying to claw their way back, and it's been better. The Major League Baseball has been on to something. They still don't have it right yet, and there's still a lot of people that have their heads cranius rectus invertus, but they're better now than they were a couple of years ago. At least it's trending in the right direction. But the NFL reigns supreme all throughout the country, hands down. If you look at some of the biggest rated shows, televised wise this year, every year, it's one or two NFL games for sure. Big ones. Unless you've got a giant, like the end of Friends or the end of Seinfeld or the end of MASH and some of the more historic programs, or some kind of coverage of a massive disaster or some of the things that have gone on in our country. Beyond that, it's been NFL. NFL pretty much reigns supreme in everything. 877-867-1670. Find us. This is from Frank. Frank says, hey, Bill, let's be honest. We as Packers fans can't get enough of it. We'll bitch and complain and moan about it, but this is also going to mean a raise in ticket prices as well, don't you think? Well, yeah, because you're going to get an extra game. I mean, you would get a consistent extra game because one year you have 9, the next year you have 8, right? With the uneven schedule. Now you would have 9 and 9 if you go to an 18-game schedule. You'd have, you'd continuously have that extra game plus 2 preseason games. You'd have 1 less preseason game, but that would be the ideal way for the NFL to go about it. What hurts is, and nobody gives a damn about it, but what hurts is the final 10 to 15 guys in the roster. Because you don't get enough time to look at those guys. You don't get enough time to get starters acclimated to, you're almost going from training camp to your first game. There's really, and 4 weeks was long. 3 weeks is about right because you don't play a lot of guys anyway because of the fear of injury now. So it's really time for those guys at the back end of the roster. That's time for them to shine and maybe have a good game or two. And they miss that extra game. You miss that extra level of experience. And for those guys, it's tough. For everybody else, nobody gives 2 damns. They really don't. But it does give you insight into your roster as a general manager to say, let's see one more time if this guy gets it. Let's see one more time if this guy doesn't get it. It's an opportunity for some guys to play their way into or out of a roster. And that's the only thing that it really, truly affects, other than just knocking the rust off and putting a little polish on your game. Beyond that, it doesn't really hurt too much. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of fans don't like paying for preseason games when they don't see the stars anyway. I think it's almost for fans now, not for the players on the field or the coaches or the organization. For fans, it's almost a throwaway game. You got to pay for it because it's part of your season ticket package, but you're kind of like, you would rather not have to pay for the preseason games as a part of your regular season ticket package. And then just leave those games open to the general public. Right? I think we all would kind of consider that. That way it's not forced down your throat, but they're never going to do that. It's guaranteed money. But that's an opportunity for you to give them away to your neighbors, to your friends, to your kids. Take different clients, give them away to clients, and say, hey, if you've never been to Lambeau Field, here you go. Here's an opportunity. That's what most people use it for. So, but the only thing that would do is it would affect that extra, that back end of the roster. That's it. Would you mind an 18-game season, Grant? Like you said, I don't think you would, right?
Yeah, I got no problem with it. I think you go to the 2 buys, though, which is in the works. I think that's factored in. So 18 weeks, 2 buys, 1 fewer preseason game. Yeah, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah. And then the other aspect of this is where are the buys going to fall and how many games overseas are they going to do? Because they're already up to 8. 8 games overseas, which, again, is just it's a burr under my saddle, man. Just every time I talk about this. But they keep expanding it. They keep making it bigger. And you can see the grand plan. Get to 18 games, probably expand it to 10 games overseas, and eventually make the announcement that there's a franchise or two overseas. And we know that's going to happen at some point. So I can, if you look 20 years down the road, I think you have 4 teams overseas. 4 teams overseas, maybe 14 games overseas as well. 14 to 16 games overseas. The season's expanded to 18 games. You go Labor Day to President's Day, 2 buys, and the money that's going to come in on the next television deal for when they, because the NFL is getting to the point where I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 2 or 4 years down the road where every slate is wiped clean. So ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, ABC, Prime, everybody is now bidding, and it's wide open. And I know that there's some talks already with Netflix getting involved with this, where you're only going to see a game or two on Netflix, where you're only going to see a game or two on Peacock. You're only going to see a game or two on Prime for that package. They're going to spread it out. Hulu is going to become involved in this, and they are going to take gobs of money for this. And that's where you can see it coming. There's been enough stated about all the streaming platforms and about what the NFL wants to do. You can see it coming to where eventually CBS, NBC, and ABC and Fox are all going to, I'm not going to say fall by the wayside, but over-the-air broadcasts may go away. It may only be available on FS1. It may only be available on NBC Sports. It may only be available on CBS Sports, all pay-per-view channels. You can see it coming. I hope it never happens, but you can see it coming. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Would love to hear from you. 877-867-1670. A place that you can always see a game, and that is our friends at Stenny's. 2nd and National, Walker's Point, downtown near Milwaukee, and we're only a couple of weeks away. My friends. Lake Country. Stenny's Lake Country on Watertown Road in Pewaukee, 6 minutes from my house. If I climb out on the roof right now, I think I can see the maple smoke starting to blow out of the chimneys and the smokestacks. That is the new Stenny's. I can't wait for this place to open. Stenny's, 2nd and National, running shuttles to all the games, running shuttles to different concerts, Summerfest, all your favorite events in downtown Milwaukee and nearby areas, all that coming. And they're going to be running shuttles from Lake Country. For those of you in Lake Country that have been looking for a shuttle, finally it's here. It's a woo! It has arrived. Stenny's Lake Country going to be up and running too in a couple of weeks. Can't wait. Stenny's, as they say, you should be here.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Suit up for the $800,000 Sports Car Series at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. April through May. Score free play, cash, one of 4 new Toyota GR86s or a new Toyota Supra. Play with your club card to earn entries. 5 times the entries on drawing days and when the Milwaukee Brewers play at home. Got what it takes, Slugger? Only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit paysbig.com/sportscar. Must be 21 and a club member to play.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright. It's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 48 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 48 months when you order by May 31st. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 5/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. Rock it on. Hey, don't forget, we're only a couple of weeks away. 2 weeks. Actually, less than that now. Next week. Well, no, 8 days. I'm sorry, 8 days. I keep thinking today's Wednesday. I don't know why. Next Wednesday, May 22nd, they open up for real. Wednesday Night Live is back at the State Fair Park. Kicking things off, it is the Glam Band. 7 o'clock next Wednesday night. Gates open up at 6. Goes to about 10:30. Motorcycle parking absolutely free. And we will be there on site broadcasting that day as we get ready to open up Wednesday Night Live. The Bud Pavilion will be either out in the middle right there, that newly reconstructed or constructed area right there across from the Cream Puff Pavilion, doing the show that day, or we're going to be in the Goose Island Ale House. One of the two, depending on what the weather's like. But we are going to be there. So we are excited about that. Again, Bud Pavilion opened up. Wednesday Night Live coming up next Wednesday, the 22nd. Glam Band takes the stage. 7 o'clock to kick things off, and it goes all the way through Rebel Grace Cherry Pie. You've got later in the year Chase and Mason, Gen Z, a special appearance by the Cheap Shots coming up at the end of August all the way through. So your entire summer now planned out every Wednesday night at the State Fair Park and the Budweiser Pavilion. Excited. I love Wednesday Night Live. Love it. Don't forget the Third Ward Beer Garden down at Catalano Square is also open in the Third Ward Wednesday through Sunday. And they've got some acoustic jams down there, and they've got music on the weekends, and they've got craft beverages. They've got some good wines, some local wines that they brought in. So just a great little gathering in a green space in the middle of the concrete jungle, if you will. And they've got lighting and everything outside. So it goes to like 9 o'clock at night. Really cool spot down there. Third Ward Beer Garden, Catalano Square. Open up Wednesday through Sunday. And then don't forget, a week from tomorrow, Wednesday Night Live is back at the Wisconsin State Fair Park, and the Glam Band takes the stage. Good stuff. Good stuff. Coming up in the next hour, look, there's a couple of things we got to get into. First of all, Reese Hoskins going for an MRI today. Came up lame last night because of the hamstring issue, and you just kind of like, oh God, just shaking your head. Just when things, you kind of get your full complement of guys back, so to speak, and then another injury happens, and you're kind of wondering how he's feeling today, and hopefully it's not too serious, and he comes back. So you've got that. Oh, by the way, so, and Grant just sent this to me. Grant, Doug Gottlieb being looked at as the next head basketball coach at UW Green Bay?
His name's been mentioned before, not that long ago, for a coaching job that had something to do with Wisconsin. I don't remember what it was for, but yeah, John Rothstein reported it. So who knows how close it's ever going to get, but Rothstein reporting it is no joke.
So, I mean, Doug Gottlieb's dad, obviously a longtime coach, and Doug played ball, and he knows, I mean, that's his gig is basketball. You know, he's been a radio talk show host for a long time. And then it was on Fox, I think, and on Sirius and such for a long time. But he's a basketball guy at heart, has been, always will be. But, you know, I don't, does he have coaching experience at all? I don't know.
I will look into that. I was just talking about that with Zach. I think it was last time Oklahoma State came open. He was mentioned. Like, he's always been mentioned, but no, I don't think he has any high level, but I'll look into that.
I don't think so either. I think he's done maybe a little coaching of his kids, some high school stuff, but I think that's about the extent of it. And in today's day and age, there's more to it. But you are looking for a name that can bring in money so you can maybe take care of some of the kids NIL-wise. So who knows? So you got that going on. Reese Hoskins goes down with an injury. So we got that going on. Also, by the way, one thing we did not mention, Jared Goff, the second highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. What does this now do to Jordan Love's contract? Holy crap. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Trailing 7-2 in the 8th inning, Jake Bauers would deliver his first career grand slam for the Brewers, but the rally would fall short at American Family Field as Milwaukee would lose 8-6 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Starting pitcher Colin Ray would get tabbed with the loss. He went 6 innings, giving up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. And some more bad news for the crew. Reese Hoskins left the game after injuring his right hamstring. He'll undergo an MRI today. Up next, Joe Ross will take the mound. First pitch tonight against the Pirates is at 6:40. Turning to the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks denied their general manager, John Horst, permission to interview for the Detroit Pistons' vacant president of basketball operations job. It was also noted that Horst was interested in speaking to the Pistons, but not get the opportunity. Horst is a Michigan native and also started his career with the Pistons.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the third largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
It will be an early kickoff for Wisconsin and Alabama this fall at Camp Randall as the TV networks announced start times for a number of marquee games that included big noon Saturday revealing the Badgers and Crimson Tide, getting things going at 11 a.m. on September 14th. The game will mark the third all-time meeting between the two schools and the first in Madison since 1928. And finally, the Green Bay Packers are finishing up on Phase 2 of their offseason program. Phase 3 will begin next week with OTAs. Then June will have a mandatory mini camp. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
to have you on board. Bill Michaels Show, hour number 2. Good to have everybody online. You want to give us a shout? 877-867-1670. Want to hit us up on text? And got a lot of people chiming in via text message, too, by the way. And I'll get to everybody. Bill in Wanakee. I've got Kevin from Central. Got Aaron in Marshfield. Jamie in the 920. And Menard from Granton, Wisconsin. Everybody chiming in today. So good stuff. If you're just tuning in today, you've got the Brewers news. Rhys Hoskins ends up pulling a hamstring just when you got to get everybody back and things are starting to flow, and then he goes down, and you hope that's not going to be serious and going to be a long lingering thing. But you got to figure the way he pulled up last night, Grant, probably looking at least a month. You would probably figure at least a month.
Yeah. When all is said and done, I think what an injury like this looks like typically, right? And tell me if I'm wrong, is you don't do anything for 10 days on the IL, then you start jogging a little bit, you start ramping up. It takes time to build back up once you give it the appropriate time off, right? So it might be a month until he returns to play, but he's not going to sit around to do absolutely nothing for the full month. That's all part of the process.
Yep. So about a month, you would probably assume, unless it's worse than that. And then you just don't know how long. I mean, I can see you may see him out until the All-Star break. I mean, we're already middle of May. So All-Star break falls that second week of July. I mean, that very well could be almost 2 months. So I hope it's not that serious, but sometimes those things, man, you got to let them get completely healthy before you bring them back. And you'd hate to see Rhys Hoskins and his bat, at least the power in his bat, be down for any length of time. So that's going on. Jared Goff signs a contract that is going to pay him close to $55 million a year. He is now the second highest paid yearly quarterback in the National Football League. And we were just talking about this the other day, where what some of these contract extensions may look like and what that'll mean for Jordan Love. And we kind of figured Jordan Love in the ballpark of 50 to 55, 57 million a year. So now that Jared Goff is 55 million a year, 53 million a year, what would you pay Jordan Love? What would Jordan Love's amount of money be per year? So we'll get into all of that. We talked about Doug Gottlieb, the talk show host, and he is being kind of rumored again for another college job, this time UW Green Bay. Doesn't have a ton of coaching experience. He did some stuff with Team USA, but he was never a consistent head coach. I know he's done a little bit with his kids and stuff, but beyond that, he hasn't. I can't, unless his agent is out there kind of floating his name out there, Grant. He's a name, and in today's NIL, you're looking for names and people of substance to come into your program and be able to create money and create some type of a pool of money for NIL players. Does Doug Gottlieb, with little to no coaching experience, make you want to spend your money in Green Bay?
I don't think there's a very realistic chance that this happens.
I don't
obviously could be wrong. I think, that this is the agent floating his name. His name's been floated. It was floated in the UW Milwaukee search before Bart Lundy was hired. And that was the school. I was like, didn't we just do this? Yeah, it was UW Milwaukee. I think this is probably his agent getting his name out there, because I think at some point Gottlieb probably does want to coach. He probably doesn't want to do it in Green Bay. Let's be real. Like, he probably wants something. They're from Oklahoma. He lives in LA. Right. He works for Fox. So I think this is more of, let's just get your name out there a couple of times in hiring cycles. And when the correct job comes available, then you'll at least be on the radar of some of the people making these decisions. That'd be my guess.
Can't imagine any school of any ilk saying, and here's the thing, Fox is paying him a pretty good amount of money to be one of their talk show hosts. He's not living in LA making $150,000 a year. He's living in LA making $800,000 or more than that a year. So if he's going to take a head coaching gig, I mean, granted, the cost of living in Green Bay is drastically different than the cost of living out in LA. But if he's going to take a head coaching gig, you're going to pay that guy quite a bit of money. And they don't have that kind of money at mid-majors. So unless it's just in his blood, he's made enough money and he just wants to coach, salary-wise, he'd probably be taking a step backwards.
Well, that's the thing. I don't doubt that he one day wants to coach. Otherwise, we wouldn't hear his name even tangentially in these coaching cycles year by year. I don't think it's going to be at Green Bay because he's got a pretty good gig going. Like we see him at the Super Bowl. That man's tan. He's living a good life. He's got a good thing going.
No, I would agree. I like I said, unless he's just got money beyond money. And Doug Gottlieb, I mean, he's still very viable. You can hear him on many platforms throughout the country. But his comet really rose maybe 3 to 5 years ago and became like at the height. But then again, that's when he signed the contract, and now he's making a pretty good, sizable amount of money because I think he was doing CBS for a while. I think he was when I was working with CBS. I think he was CBS for a while. I think he's Fox now, if I'm not mistaken. I think
he's Fox Sports Radio in the afternoon. Yeah.
So I think he went over to Fox, and Fox paid him quite a bit of money. So he made the jump. So maybe he's got enough money now, and now he just wants to get out of doing talk shows or something. I don't know, but I can't imagine if I am a big time college or any mid-major college, I'm going to say, I need recruiting. I need money. I need somebody that's going to come in here and knows how to put the program together. I can't believe they're going to turn it over to him. That's why I think this is so unusual.
I think it's a good float by his agent, get the name out there. And this, by the way, is happening. And maybe we should have mentioned this yesterday, and maybe you did, and I don't remember. But Sundance Wicks, who was coaching at Green Bay, went to Wyoming, a place where he spent some time as a coach before. And it's a bummer to lose him. But Bill, doesn't a coach with a name like Sundance Wicks belong in the West? He sounds like someone who should be coaching in Wyoming, right? Sundance Wicks. So good for him, right? We often forget these coaches. Right, they might want to be closer to home, or they might eventually have a destination in mind. I think this is a great fit for Coach Wicks. It's a bummer to lose him, but that's why we're talking about this.
Right. So anyway, that being said, it's kind of an unusual thing, but his name is being floated out there. So you heard that as well. So a lot to catch up on. We were also talking about you've got the schedule at least starting to trickle out regarding the NFL, and I'm sure more games are going to come out tomorrow and more games are going to come out tonight, but to kick the season off on Monday Night Football, it's going to be the Jets and Aaron Rodgers on the road. They're going to be taking on the San Francisco 49ers. And like I said, I think a lot of people are going to be kind of watching that game intently. One, it's the first Monday Night Football game of the season. Two, Rodgers, no matter where he goes, always brings a television audience. And three, you're going to want to see if you're a Rodgers fan, Rodgers and his comeback, or if you're a Rodgers hater or dislike or what have you, you're going to maybe hope for the demise of the New York Jets after everything that's gone on. So depending on what it is and what you want to be doing, I'm probably going to be watching the beginning and the end of the Jets. Not that I'm a Rodgers hater, because I'm not. It's just, I think the way everything went down and then all the things you find out about after the fact, it's kind of like, come on. You're not, it wasn't that upfront, loving, amicable divorce. It was kind of crappy. And the more you found out, the more you dug, the more you looked into this, you kind of found out that it was kind of Aaron Rodgers doing. It's kind of nasty because feelings were hurt more than anything. And it was kind of like the scorned girlfriend leaving and doing everything she can to ruin you on the way out the door. So
maybe this is something we should have mentioned yesterday. Did you see the report from Connor Hughes at SNY about Nathaniel Hackett? Did we talk about this yesterday, or did we miss this?
We missed this.
So the Jets apparently spent a lot of time this offseason looking to hire someone who, the wording's tricky, would kind of replace Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett would remain the offensive coordinator, but they were looking to hire a guy who would kind of big picture run the show, right? And the report from Connor Hughes, and I can send you the link if you want to read these direct quotes, but this guy was basically saying, look, the Jets had enough upheaval this offseason. They had enough things on their plate. They wouldn't be doing this if they weren't concerned about Nathaniel Hackett.
Right.
So the Jets apparently looked to hire someone to kind of come in and, I don't know, be directly under Nathaniel Hackett, but really to help him out, because I think within the building, there's not a lot of belief that he's a very good offensive coordinator. Yeah. And after last year, I can't blame him. Right. I'll send you this story.
Yeah. The questions about Nathaniel Hackett, obviously, once he left and went to Denver, and Denver did not get Rodgers, and they got Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson, I didn't blame Nathaniel Hackett for that, because Russell Wilson came in with a lot of demands, and they way overpaid Russell Wilson. They gave him the contract, gave him his own office, gave him his own staff, just basically made him the head coach. And it really did put Nathaniel Hackett, for his first ever head coaching stint, put him in a bad light and painted him into a corner. And he never fully had control of that team. Russell Wilson did. Well, then Nathaniel Hackett leaves, and we all know what happened after the fact when Sean Payton came in and basically said Nathaniel Hackett was a train wreck and one of the, what do you call it, the worst coaching job he'd ever witnessed or ever, heard about in the history of coaching. And then Aaron Rodgers said, keep my guy's name out of your mouth and blah, 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 whatever. And then last year when Rodgers went down and people were looking for Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator to kind of turn on a dime and say, hey, look, we had everything in place for Aaron Rodgers. He's not here. We're going to spin this now and make Zach Wilson a better quarterback. And he did it for maybe a game. And everything just deteriorated from there. And there wasn't belief in Wilson, and they went through different quarterbacks, and the offense didn't get any better. The offensive line wasn't very good. Everything was exposed. And some said, hey, look, it's the personnel. There's nothing you can do about it. Nobody could have created, something positive out of this. Well, Nathaniel Hackett was looked at by a lot of people in New York as a guy that, 1, couldn't think on his feet, 2, couldn't think outside the box, 3, all of his warts and blemishes were covered up by Aaron Rodgers. And that very well may be true. That's why this year you're going into this. If you're the Jets organization, you're like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know if Nathaniel Hackett's good, if he's not good. We're not going to get rid of him because he's Aaron's guy. But for all the guys that he already knew, Mercedes Lewis, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Billy Turner, all these guys he knew, they didn't perform any better playing in a system that he supposedly put together. So it became a big question mark where people were like, nah, this guy's not very good. He's just Aaron Rodgers' guy. So this is why it's the proving year for Nathaniel Hackett. And damn straight, you better have some backup. You better have another guy to come along just in case.
There's a bullet point in this just to add to what you're kind of saying is, right, the Jets are worried because many, many times at the line of scrimmage last summer, Nathaniel Hackett would call a play, and then Rodgers changed it at the line. And that's concerning to the Jets is like, oh, Rodgers doesn't believe in Hackett. And I think what Packers fans know and what most people have understood over a long period of time now is he's going to do that with any offensive coordinator. That's not an anti-Nathaniel Hackett thing. That's just what Rodgers does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's interesting to kind of see these Jets people figure some of these things out that we've known to be true for a long time.
Yeah, coaches have had to live with, and in some case, rightfully so, because Rodgers is by far a very smart quarterback, let's be honest. But they have had to live with Rodgers has the right at the line of scrimmage to basically do whatever he wants. Rodgers has always envied the ability that Peyton Manning had to basically call his own plays, and then the ability that Tom Brady had to kind of dictate some of the personnel around him. Now, when Brady was with Belichick, he didn't have a lot of that. He had some input, but he didn't have a lot of that. Once he went to Tampa Bay, remember, that's when Rodgers says, I want what Tom has. I like what Tom has. I like that system, the way it's set up, because Tom Brady kind of had his own ability to do his own thing. So that's the reason. That's the reason Rodgers really envied him, and he's always craved that. So I don't think it's Nathaniel Hackett acquiescing or being undermined by Aaron Rodgers. I think it's, hey, Aaron, here's 2 plays. Pick one or pick the version of that play that you want and go make it happen. So sometimes it's just the eyes and the ears at the line of scrimmage and the figuring out the matrix that Rodgers has been able to do over the years. It's made a lot of, not just Nathaniel Hackett, but a lot of guys look really good. I mean, Mike McCarthy looked really good. Certainly Matt LaFleur looked really good, and now you see what the purer form of Matt LaFleur's offense is, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is what we were waiting to see all along, because Rodgers was the guy running around, patting the football, looking, pointing, trying to get to guys and then throwing it out of bounds. And that infuriated so many people with guys wide open downfield that he wasn't going to look at because he had a fixation for a different player or two or a route or two that he wanted to make work. So you don't know what level of coordinator Nathaniel Hackett is because he's always had Rodgers. But when he did need to turn on a dime and make Zach Wilson better, that was an absolute train wreck. And it could have just been an overestimation of the talent via Zach Wilson. So you don't know what to believe. So I get it. I understand that you had to try to go out and find somebody just in case you've got a safety net there if Nathaniel Hackett just simply isn't the guy. 877-867-1670. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Suit up for the $800,000 Sports Car Series at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. April through May, score free play, cash, one of 4 new Toyota GR86s or a new Toyota Supra. Play with your club card to earn entries, 5 times the entries on drawing days, and with the Milwaukee Brewers play at home. Got what it takes, Slugger? Only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit PaceBig.com/sportscar. Must be 21 and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Jared Goff is one of the great guys in the NFL, and respectfully, he wasn't traded. He was shipped away. He was cast away. And instead of, hiding behind his legs, his tail behind his legs or whatnot, quitting on himself, he just kept working on it and at his craft, and now he's the highest paid line. 2 things. He's become a guy. Over the last 2 years, he's the best quarterback in the fourth quarter at overtime, leads the NFL in QBR in those situations and passing yards. And number 2, he is the best red zone quarterback in the NFL right now. 18 touchdowns to 0 interceptions along that time frame. What an unbelievable story of a guy that's drafted number 1, immediate success. Yo, you're not good enough. Get out of here. Now $170 million guaranteed for an organization that he has completely turned around. I am so freaking happy for this dude.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. Those are the words of Dan Orlovsky talking about Jared Goff. And Jared Goff getting paid big time. Becomes the second highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. Yeah, boy. And that's a lot of money. Jared Goff getting his wish since he was traded from the Rams for Matthew Stafford in 21. Go back to January of 21. He has become a hell of a quarterback under Dan Campbell and the Lions. The contract extension, $212 million over 4 years. That includes $170 million in guaranteed money. Goff is going to be 34 when this deal expires. So he's not an old guy. We kind of think of him as this old dude, and he's really not. When you think about Jared Goff, he's not. He's going to be 34. So he's 30 years old now. He's going to be 34 when this whole thing comes to culminate. And 50, and I said 55, it's $53 million a year average salary in the new deal. He's the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, right behind Joe Burrow, who is making $55 million a year. And it comes weeks after the Lions locked up Amon-Ra St. Brown. He gets a 4-year deal worth $120 million. And then Sewell, their offensive tackle, he got a 4-year deal worth $112 million. Goff, believe it or not, in his 9th season in the NFL. And he took the Lions to an NFC championship game, something that hasn't been done since Moses was a baby with the Lions. But so as far as the Lions go, what it means for the Lions, the Lions have said over and over again, their general manager, Dan Campbell, that they kept thinking that this was going, at least the outside perception was that Goff was going to be some kind of a quarterback placeholder until they drafted another guy. And they insisted, no, that's not the case. And now they've made it very clear. They're paying the man. He's their guy. So he is going to be around for a lot of money. They're not trading him away. It's, as far as the Super Bowl window goes for the Lions, the time is right now for them. All the pieces are in place. The quarterback situation is set. For the first time in years, the organization being built to sustain winning. And they're not a laughingstock anymore. They're not the 0-16, 17, 18 team, whatever. Last season, Goff, we all know, won a couple of playoff games in a single postseason for the first time since 57, I think? 57? So Goff getting paid. A lot of money.
I mentioned this on my show last night. I'd like your thoughts. I don't think you've mentioned this. So when you pay a quarterback big money, you're basically saying you can make up for shortcomings, right? That's what you're saying when you pay a quarterback big money. I think Jared Goff is really good, but we've seen in his career that if his O-line isn't great or if he doesn't have a great play caller, like he's a lot less effective. If I'm Jordan Love's age and I'm like, well, my guy's bigger, stronger, faster, bigger arm, like he can make up for shortcomings in a way that Jared Goff couldn't theoretically because of his traits. I just think this contract gave so much ammo to Jordan Love's camp to kick that number even higher.
What is Jordan Love's contract status going to be? Is it $53 million a year?
That's where I'd start if I was his agent, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean you can, but the pushback is going to be and it's we're only talking about a few million here, or maybe the guaranteed money, but the pushback is going to be Goff's a 9-year vet. Goff has taken this team from Ophir to an NFC championship game for the first time since 1957. Goff has sustained numbers ever since he got there. Jordan Love's 1 year into it. I just don't know if that's the starting point. I mean, as the agent, yes. But is that where they end up? Does he end up with a little bit less, maybe guaranteed money? Does he go to $140 million or $150 million guaranteed rather than $171 million guaranteed? Does he come out with $48 million a year? Does he go to $55 million a year? You know what I mean? I don't know. Now that contract, Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff's been to an NFC Championship game. Joe Burrow has had sustained success. Goff has had sustained success. It just so happens that Jordan Love doesn't have that opportunity because he was behind Aaron Rodgers, and he's got really about 9 to 10 good games under his belt. So can you try to sign him right now and give all those reasons and say, we're going to pay you and we're going to set you up for the rest of your life, but we don't want to give you 171 million guaranteed. We're going to give you 140, 130, 150, somewhere in there. Can you make that work a little bit better in favor of the Green Bay Packers? Because I know people are going to say, well, he's younger, he's going to have more time, you're going to lock, but then again, you don't even know if year 2 is going to go under his belt the exact same way that the year 1 ended. You hope it is, you think it is, you believe it is, your aspirations are, but will it be? So maybe that's playing in favor of the Green Bay Packers a little bit. Because had Jared Goff signed a contract for $200 million or all of it guaranteed, that would have blown the lid off, because nobody's given out the Deshaun Watson money. And we all can see how that has not necessarily played out well for the Browns. So nobody's done that. You know what I mean? So, and what was Kirk Cousins' contract with Atlanta? Because he didn't get all of it guaranteed like he had been when he was getting all the guaranteed money from the Vikings.
4-year, $180 million with 100 of it guaranteed.
100 of it guaranteed. So, okay. And 1 playoff game under his belt. Somewhere in between is where Jordan Love is going to fall. That's a great question.
They're interesting comparisons because there's a lot that we don't know about Jordan Love.
Right.
But a lot of that uncertainty is the Packers doing, right? Like if Russ Ball or whoever goes to Jordan Love's agent and is like, well, we only have seen 1 year, his agent should say, well, that's your fault. You parked him on the bench for 3 years. That's not our problem, right? So it's an interesting negotiation, just like Jared Goff, because you got to think, well, the Lions are good for the first time in forever. That's got to play a role, right? Mm-hmm. Detroit doesn't want to lose out on that. But we also have like Jared Goff's rookie year when he didn't have an O-line and didn't have weapons and was coached by Jeff Fisher. He looked awful. So he's not a guy who can succeed independent of the system and of the players around him. Just 2 really interesting case studies for contracts.
Does he because he's better than Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray got a ridiculous contract. He got $103 million guaranteed. I think it was $160 million. He averages $46 million a year. Patrick Mahomes, we all know. I mean, he got, what was it, 63 million was guaranteed or something like that, or 100 million was guaranteed at the contract signing, but that was kind of big money. But he's making 45 million a year, where Joe Burrow's getting 55 million a year. So is he Matthew Stafford kind of contract, where Matthew Stafford got, what was it? He signed that extension in 2022, I think, and because his cap hit never gets above, I think it's right at 50. I think this year it'll be at 50 or next year it'll be at 50, something like that. Does he do that level of contract? So what would be the level of contract that Jordan Love would get? Because I'm trying to look at some of the comparable contracts for guys that have had success in their career. I mean, you look at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's $52.5 million this year. I would probably start there because Justin Herbert hasn't really won much either. I would probably look at that contract. Because he got $133.7 million guaranteed. And that would probably be a more reasonable contract. He averages, I think, what is it this year? 40 million, something like that. 48 million this year, I think. But that to me, no, Justin Herbert, $52.5 million this year is what he would average for his salary. As the 3rd highest paid quarterback. But Lamar Jackson's $52 million. He got $135 million at signing. Trying to look at some of these other contracts with guys that have had big numbers, and everything else goes down from there. A lot of the new ones have well over $100 million at signing. Joe Burrow got 146. Jared Goff, we all know what he got, 133 for Justin Herbert, 135 for Lamar Jackson, 110 for Jalen Hurts, 103 for Kyler Murray, $100 million for Josh Allen when he signed his extension. So where does Jordan Love fit into all of that?
It's a little different, right, with Herbert and all those guys. They're entering into their prime, theoretically. Like Kirk Cousins is over the hill and coming back from an injury, or Rodgers. I think, and we'll get back to this because we got to get to Freems and talk Brewers, but I think it matters the person you're investing in too. And by all accounts, everybody loves Goff. We heard Orlowski talk about it. And I think the Packers love what Jordan Love is made of. And I think that plays a role with how much they're willing to invest and jump in and extend him this offseason, despite him only playing 1 year.
Completely agree. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Chuck Freeman talking Brewers coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright. It's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 48 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 48 months when you order by May 31st. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 5/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. Rocking on. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. We certainly appreciate you being here. Brewers lose last night. They lost in more ways than one. Rhys Hoskins goes down with a looked to be a hamstring injury. He's going to get looked at today. And now you kind of wait and see how long he's going to be out. I mean, hamstrings, those things are never quick. I mean, they're just not. Chuck Freeman, our guy from the Locked On Brewers podcast, joining us on the hotline. Chucker, how you doing, pal?
It's probably like the one injury all us non-athletes or former athletes I've never had a hamstring, but everybody tells me just how painful it is. And, it's just, they were talking last night, Bill, it's one of those things that just doesn't happen. You don't recover overnight on something like that.
I said, look, it's probably going to be at least a month, just because it's usually 2 weeks and then 2 weeks of rehab.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's severe enough, then we're 6 weeks away from the All-Star break. He could go all the way through the All-Star break. I mean, this may be the end of the first half of his season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just when things were rolling for the guy, also I love that move in the off season, and it was just funny because the other day on my podcast I was just saying, man, I want Hoskins long term, 4 years, 120 million, whatever it takes. We got ourselves a first baseman. I liked it, and he was a good locker room guy. The home runs. I thought when they picked him up in the off season, I thought this guy's gonna hit 35 home runs this year.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, maybe it's more closer to 40, but that's a big loss. Yeah. Murphy calls him a pillar on this team, Bill. And Jake Bauers, he'll do a nice job, but he's not Rhys Hoskins.
Right. No, I completely agree. I agree with you. He was just starting to kind of swing through whatever. I mean, he always had the pop. I mean, as far as the home run power goes, I mean, that's obvious, but he was just starting to make consistent contact. I guess might be the best way to put it. And we were also talking about this last week, that you wanted to see him in the lineup almost every day. Just start to swing through this and get your groove back. And it certainly seemed like that started to happen. So I hate to lose to the Pirates and hate to lose a guy. So now we wait and see what the MRI shows. We'll find out more today when Pat Murphy speaks. So they lose last night to Pittsburgh. I'm not fretting over it. They ended up coming back in that ball game, which made me a little more excited like I've had earlier this season. So if you turn around and you lose the game today, Chuck, then it's all for naught. If you come back and you pound out 7 runs and you get a win 7-2, 7-3, whatever, not bad. Colin Ray, not a bad night last night. Gave up some runs early, then settled in, and another quality start.
Yeah, I always feel, Bill, when you get 6 innings and 3 runs out of Colin Ray, man, that's when you got to win.
Yeah.
And going into last night, they were 6-1 in games that he was the starter in. And I'm not belittling him, but he's not one of their upper tier guys. He's got to be right now because of all the injuries in that starting rotation. But Ray has been so good, and yeah, you like to see the offense bail him out. Now, they did late, but it was a little too late. I think the Brewers got up 4-0 in this game, or when they got up 4-0 in this game, they bring in Vieira, they bring in White, and I think that the feeling was, well, we're not going to use some of our top guys to hold this close. I don't think they truly felt that they were going to maybe even come back in that game, but they did. So Ray pitched well. It was the middle relief that gave up all those tag-on runs to the Pirates, which, the Brewers had to play catch up then. And, you get down 7-2. It's tough to come back from that. Bowers hits the grand slam and it's 8-6. But all in all, man, I think we'll take that kind of performance from Colin Ray every single day of the week.
Yeah, 100%. I still think as you start to venture into June and even into July, I think they're going to be looking for starting pitching as much as because we were just talking yesterday, like, what do they need? Would another bopper in the lineup be a guy that they could go in that direction? But I think the more and even with Rhys Hoskins going down, the more you analyze it, you think, you know what, if you get a starter and one of the guys that are currently in the rotation has to get bumped to middle relief to bump out one of the guys who really is not getting the job done, that may not be a bad way to go.
Yeah, right now, if you look at the rotation, Joe Ross is pitching tonight, and I'm really iffy about him. We'll see what he does tonight. He's had a couple of nice starts. He's also had starts where he just couldn't get out of his own way. But yeah, they'll definitely be in the market for a starting pitcher. But with the Brewers, they kind of look at it differently than maybe a team like the Yankees or the Dodgers will. The Yankees and Dodgers were willing to rent a player. The Brewers just don't want to get a guy, give up some prospects just so they can have him for the rest of the season. That's not the route they want. They want a guy, and the other route they'll take is if they can get a reclamation project, like a Joe Ross or a guy, last year they went out and got Carlos Santana was a reclamation project, but their big signing last year was going out and get Carlos Santana to play first base, an aging first baseman. That's the kind of move the Brewers are going to have to make. Any of the top of the line starting pitchers that are out there, they're not going after unless they have control over him for, a handful of years. So we'll see what they do. But, I wouldn't put all my expectations that, hey, they're going out the All-Star break, but they got to get there. They got to get there first. They're holding tight right now. They're 7 games over the 500 mark. They got a big road trip coming up after they're done with the Pirates coming up on Wednesday.
So give me your thoughts on the outfield, the way it stacks up. You've got obviously Joey Wiemer's down with injury. You're waiting for Garrett Mitchell to come back. Sal Frelick offensively has struggled a little bit. You got Christian Yelich back, and Christian seems to be, other than the 0-for-5 start he's kind of picked up where he left off as far as roping the baseball. But give me your thoughts on where the outfield is at right now.
Boy, I'll tell you, when Gary Mitchell comes back, does that mean Churio will get sent down? There's a feeling that maybe you need to keep Churio up here to let him work through it on the parent team.
That's a great question.
On the Brewers.
You and I talked about that last week. Would Churio, do you think it would behoove him to go down and just kind of get his rope back?
Boy, I was at the games this past weekend, Bill, and I'm watching the games, and I'm watching him at the plate, and he's attacking that outside pitch, and he's got no shot at it. Right. So maybe he needs to go down. Maybe the Brewer fans, that's not a signal that the guy's a bust. He just needs to work through a few things. He's got to just work through a few things. Maybe that's the case, but we're seeing Yelich DH a lot, and I think that's not a lot, but we're seeing him DH and because they want to manage that back issue of his. Right. So I think we're going to see some more of that. But I would think that maybe when Churio, he might, if he's still struggling by the time Mitchell is ready, maybe in June, maybe that's a signal right there. They played some Bowers out in the outfield. I don't feel real comfortable with that guy in the outfield. I'd rather have him play first base. But, Sal Frelick has got to start stepping it up. And Perkins, Perkins is hanging on right now. The guy snapped an 0-for-25 streak last night with a base hit. Got to get him going, or Nashville might be calling for him again.
Yeah, it's like, who needs the most out of a minor league stint right now? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you get Garrett Mitchell back, he's going to take some time and he's going to work his way back up. But who needs the minor leagues the most? Is it Churio? Is it Sal Frelick? I mean, I think it comes down to those two guys right now, because both guys seem Churio, if he figures out the low and away pitch and the breaking stuff on the outside, then he's a monster, because that's where they're nailing him right now. He just can't figure it out. He can't see that off-speed stuff coming low and away. But Frelick just seems to be, he's still making some contact, but he's not as assured of himself as he looked and confident as himself as he looked earlier this season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that first series against the Mets, that was kind of a wow series. Like, wow, this guy's going to be here to stay. This guy's the real deal. And what happens, the pitchers adapt to the weakness. What's that?
They figure them out. They start to figure out their holes in their swing.
Exactly. These pitching coaches and the analytics, they're so smart, and they're able to figure out, down and away is the way to get Churio. They work through all that stuff. Joey Weimer, when he comes off the injured list, I think he's a candidate to go back down to Nashville and work on a thing or two. I just don't think at the major league level, still not there. He's changed things around a little bit, but he could be sent down. So, they got they have a few guys in this team right now that got to take it to another. We got to see if they can take it to another level. And Frelick, he's here to stay. I just, he's got to be a little bit better than he is. Certainly, Perkins has got to be better after that initial 4 weeks that he was really, really good. But sometimes this team will go through some slides offensively. They woke up a little bit last night, but I like if they can come back and take these next two games against the Pirates. The Pirates, no matter how much we like to down talk them a little bit, they always seem to be. They got that Brian Reynolds who's just so good. He had 5 hits last night. They always seem to find a way to stop to give you that heart punch once in a while.
And Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, I mean, for a while, the Brewers had Pittsburgh's number, and they could do no wrong at all. And all of a sudden, the tables have just flipped. Pittsburgh has just been kind of a pain in the ass, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, they are. You look at them and you say, how they lose to this team? They got a couple of nice players, right? But the Pirates are just one of those teams. They're the ultimate spoiler. They're the ultimate spoiler. That's going to when you're on your schedule, you're thinking, all right, well, maybe we'll take 2 or 3 or whatever. And the next thing you know, you find yourself down 7-2 to those guys. It's just, it's not a real sexy opponent when they come to AmFam Field. There's hardly anybody there at the ballpark. Yeah. You don't get really when you have tickets for the Brewers and Pirates, you're not real fired up about it unless it's bobblehead day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or give away free prime ribs or something.
Exactly. I completely agree. Now, you know what? You take the next 2 out of 3, or the next 2, I should say, get 2 out of 3 of this series. You win the next 2. It's not a bad way to go. You get 3 out of 4 against St. Louis, 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh. That's a great homestand. But a big one coming up where you've got 3 on the road against Houston. You get the off day on Thursday. Then you've got 3 against a terrible Miami team, then an off day. And then you got to go to Fenway before you come back home to face the Cubs. I mean, you got to come back home with some momentum. Big road trip coming up,
Yeah, that Memorial Day weekend when they got to go to Fenway. I bet you we see a lot of Brewers fans at Fenway because that's a trip that I've never been to Fenway. I thought about doing it, Bill.
Not for a game. I've been there for other stuff, but not for a game.
Okay, I've never been to Boston. In 2018, if the Brewers would have won Game 7 against the Dodgers, we would have went to Boston and covered that. But the World Series. But yeah, I'd like to see Fenway someday. Although it's Memorial Day weekend, it's a tough one to get away. And someday I want to get to Fenway. Haven't been there yet.
Right. No, I'm with you, man. I'd love to see a Brewers game there. It just didn't work out this year, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been to Fenway one time to take the tour and walk through it and relive a lot of memories. Okay. It's really cool, but I've never been. By the way, when I went there was a football field in the middle of the stadium. It was the Fenway Bowl that was getting ready to take.
Oh, place. It was?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
It was a football field. So
that was so cool.
Yeah,
that would have been cool to see. I like that. I've always wondered, but Miller Park is too small for that. Man, that'd be great to see something like that at AmFam Field. Yeah, we're trying to find new uses for the place to see a football game there.
Right. It was crazy. I walked out. I'm like, oh my God, it's like, hallowed ground. You walk out from that little tunnel that comes out behind home plate. You go, and it was a damn football field. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah. No, I see that. And I remember, seeing the game. At Yankee Stadium, they've had football games there. Were you there? Yeah, were you there when they had the seats up? The seats were in left field beyond the Green Monster already, right?
Yes. This was 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
Okay, all right.
First time.
So, yeah, I see those seats up there. They look like great seats, but I don't know. I'm old school. I liked it better when they didn't have the seats up there, where the ball would just disappear over the fence.
Well, I tell you this, it is an amazing view, and I can only imagine sitting there and having one plop in your lap. It is.
Oh yeah.
And what was really cool for me, and I don't want to get too far off into a tangent, but when you walk through the press box, Kristen had got me a tour, and so when you walk through the press box, a majority of the history, it's some of the Yankees and some of the most recent World Series, but a majority of that is the 75 series against the Reds and Carlton Fisk waving it fair, and that Game 6 and the celebration, and you see all those different guys like Louis Tion had pitched there, and Rice had played there, and Fisk had played there, and you get all those Hall of Famers and all those plaques that are up there in that press box, but tons of pictures of the 75 series, and
it's funny.
It brought it all back for me.
Yeah, that 75 Red Sox team, the first Brewers game I ever went to at County Stadium, they played the 75. It was 1975. They played the Red Sox. The Red Sox had a pitcher named Rick Wise.
Yeah.
I was 8 years old, took a no-hitter into the ninth inning, 2 outs. George Scott, the boomer, broke it up with a home run.
Wow.
So they're 1 out away from a no-hitter. I was 8 years old. I've seen thousands of games since then, have not seen a no-hitter. That's the closest I've seen the very first game I've went to, and it was involving the 75 Red Sox.
Yeah, no-hitters are hard to come by, especially here.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one I've ever seen was Tom Browning's no-hitter for Cincinnati. That was it. The only one I've ever seen.
Oh, in person?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It was a rain-delayed game and everything, so we got to move down and see it. There was hardly anybody there because it was rain, but it was at Riverfront, so they played on that crappy AstroTurf, and so we got to all move down and go see it. We didn't even realize what was happening till like the 8th inning.
Yeah.
We got a chance to see it. So, yeah.
Well, Zambrano threw that one no-hitter at AmFam Field, but that was the Cubs in Houston playing.
Right.
That's like a trivia question. That was 2008, I want to say.
Yep.
And then the Nieves no-hitter, that was in Baltimore in 87, so we missed that. It wasn't even on statewide TV that night. And then, Burns threw that combined no-hitter a couple of years ago, but I don't only count that. A no-hitter to me is a no-hitter, one guy going the distance.
Right. Chuck, they can find you on YouTube, Locked On Brewers Podcast, correct?
Yeah, Locked On Brewers. You get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast, we are there. Just type in Locked On Brewers, search for it, hit the subscribe button, and any alerts. It's all free. And then, of course, YouTube. Go to Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. It alerts you every time. Locked On Brewers. We're here Monday through Friday talking Brewers baseball. And, of course, follow me on Twitter, Bill Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND.
There you go.
And we'll talk to you next Tuesday, Bill.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Chuck Freeman joining us for a couple of minutes. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. We got a lot more coming up. Kurt Hogue is going to be joining us. We'll talk some more Brewers baseball with him. Coming up shortly, we'll talk some NFL. Talk some more about Jared Goff's contract and what that's going to mean for Jordan Love's contract. We'll get into all of that. Some more NFL discussion. You've got playoff games and all that kind of good stuff. So we've got that to talk about. No, I am not going to get into the LeBron crap. I don't care that LeBron was sitting courtside at a Cavaliers game. I don't care that he brought his own wine. I'm not a LeBron fan. I don't care. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It doesn't matter to me. So I don't know what it means. Don't know if it means anything at all. I don't care if he and Bronny play together. It doesn't matter. So if I could say I don't care anymore, I would be stressing it and emphasizing it. There you have it. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers are likely going to be without Rhys Hoskins tonight as they face off against the Pirates again. The first baseman left last night's loss to Pittsburgh with a hamstring injury. Manager Pat Murphy said they would know more today.
Rhys's injury, obviously, he's got a hamstring. We don't know anything more. I have an MRI in the morning. You know, lose one of our leaders. We just got Yelly back. That's a big blow. Usually hamstrings are not better in a few days.
Hoskins told reporters he felt a little grab in his hamstring right as he reached first base after a single to right field. It came in another loss for the Crew, their second straight. Tonight, Milwaukee will send Joe Ross to the mound. Comes in 1-4 with a 4.75 ERA. The Pirates counter with Quinn Priester. He's 0-3 with a 3.86 ERA. First pitch is set for 6:40 at American Family Field. Turning to the Bucks, the team has reportedly declined Detroit's request to interview GM John Horst for their president of basketball operations position. Horst got to start with the Pistons and is a Michigan native.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the third largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers are nearing the end of phase 2 of their offseason program. Going to get phase 3 going next week with the start of the OTAs. They've got 3 weeks of those before a mandatory minicamp in the middle of June wraps up the offseason. Meanwhile, the NFL will release its full schedule tomorrow. Packers already know where and when their season will start in Brazil against the Eagles on September 6th. The rest of the slate going to be filled in tomorrow. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. First couple hours, good stuff. Fast first couple of hours, too, man. It just flew by. What do we have for you here? Got a lot of different things happening today. By the way, I do want to get over to people that are jumping on the text line. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Bill and Wanakee said, did you go to Metro Market this morning? I did not. My grocery shopping is pretty much done for the week, so I'm pretty good. And we're kind of in and out this weekend. I got the kid down the road is staying at the house because I'm going to be in and out. I'm not going to really be here for the next few days on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Won't get back till late Sunday night. So I don't usually leave my house empty. So the kid down the street comes over and checks on things and all that kind of stuff, especially now that I've got this whole water pipe issue that we were talking about earlier today. So no, I didn't go to Metro Market because I'm not going to eat a whole lot of food here this weekend, which is good. It's bad though. I got to buy food out. This one is from the 920, Brad in Sturgeon Bay. He says, hey, Bill, a while ago you mentioned with regard to starting pitching that you'd rather have a bunch of 2s and 3s rather than a really good ace and a bad supporting cast. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, so please correct me if I am wrong. But I'm wondering if it translates to the receiving core in the NFL. Would you rather have the Packers receivers being 2s and 3s without a solidified number one, or would you rather have a guy like Stephon Diggs or a Justin Jefferson if it meant not having a good supporting cast around them? That's Brad in Sturgeon Bay. I thought that was an interesting question when I read it, Brad. In the NFL, I think if you had one really good guy, I'd probably, if you said right now, I would trade 3 of the 5 guys you have in, say, the Packers roster for Justin Jefferson. I would take that trade. I would trade for Justin Jefferson. He just dictates the field. There's dynamicness there. And that's, do you think they ever would have, for a bunch of guys, for 3 or 4 other receivers, gotten rid of Jerry Rice? No. Nope. Do you think that for, if you gave them 2 receivers, 3 receivers for Tyreek Hill in Miami, do you think they'd get rid? No. Wouldn't do it. I can't think of any circumstance except for age. I mean, if you're talking everything being equal, Grant, would you? If you were to take right now Jaden Reed, Samori Toure, Dontavian Wicks, or say take Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Malik Heath, and would you trade that for Justin Jefferson?
Trade all of those guys for Justin Jefferson?
3 guys for Justin Jefferson.
I wouldn't. And I know Vikings fans would hear that and think, what do you mean? Well, no, I trust me. I realize how good Justin Jefferson is, but the Packers' issue for years with Adams was they had one great guy and nobody else.
Right.
And I think in playoff games, you need that 2 or that 3 to find the advantage and take advantage of the defense focusing on other guys. I wouldn't do that. I'd rather have 6 wide receivers and tight ends that I really like rather than one I love.
A team that just won the Super Bowl, again, doesn't really have a number one. They've got a good tight end. That's my argument to that. You put Justin Jefferson on the Chiefs, hands down, that's a runaway team. Hands down. That's why I would say I would take that deal, because that just changes the field so much as far as the defensive coordinator goes and what you have to do. I agree with you on the Devontae Adams thing, but they didn't have, it wasn't even 2s and 3s. They had 4s. I mean, come on. It was Alan Lazard. Randall Cobb past his prime. And Randall Cobb was never number 1 or number 2 anyway. And they did not have a quality tight end. If you give me Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Dontavian Wicks, and Justin Jefferson, I think I can kick your ass every day of the week. That is such a, especially with the run game. That's a great question.
Well, in the playoffs, when the Packers were winning games down the stretch, and I think especially that New Year's Eve game against the Vikings, it wasn't Jordan Love throwing jump balls to Watson and Dobbs. It was every week, who's the guy that's going to get schemed wide open? Right. There were guys wide open, and I think that's a lot easier to do when you have 4 or 5 guys you like rather than one you love.
I don't know. It would be so hard for me to pass on that level of talent because Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. He's got another guy, but they don't have a dynamic, group of receivers. But Jamar Chase is the guy. You wonder what Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to do for Kyler Murray. What is he going to do for that passing game as really their only decent wide receiver? Man, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'm trying to think of, you take Deebo Samuel off of the 49ers, they still have Kittle. They still have McCaffrey. They still got a run game. I don't know, man. That's a great question.
I love this question. I love this topic. I just have to interrupt you with some breaking news.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doug Gottlieb is going to be the next head coach at UW Green Bay.
Really?
And the wildest part about this story is he's going to keep doing his radio show, which is like, hey, do you want to pick up a side hustle coaching, Bill? You could keep doing your radio show.
Wow.
And a programming note, and then I want to get your reaction. But John Rothstein, CBS Sports, huge personality in college basketball, is going to join us at 1:00. So in about an hour to give us the latest on
Doug
how this came together.
As the next head coach of UW Green Bay. Doug's a fan of the show too. We got to get Doug on.
I'm trying. We have John Rothstein who's going to tell us about it. He was the one who first broke the interest in the story, or the one who put it out.
Is till Doug signs the contract, he's not going to do anything, and neither would
probably
Green Bay. But we've had Doug on numerous times. We see Doug at Super Bowl all the time, and he's always been so kind to come over and join us. So maybe at some point we get him on the air with us. But what made him do this?
Can't hurt to ask. I mean, if he's doing his radio show while coaching anyways, maybe he can do our radio show today.
Here's my next question, though. And this is how can you still, if you're a head coach, how can you still say, and this is what I want answered by either Doug or whomever, if you're a head coach, knowing what today's climate is, how can you be seriously taken as a head coach if you're still doing a radio show? It's one thing, if you're doing something for, a half an hour a day and you're doing a hit on a radio show. It's another thing when you're doing a full-blown 3-hour radio show. Oh, man. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm just seeing it cross in numerous facets. That's crazy. Wow.
I have so many questions. John Rothstein, again, in about 50 minutes, will be here. And we'll still talk Brewers with Kurt, but I just wanted to jump in and make you aware because this is a pretty sizable story. This is a huge personality that a lot of people know who's coming to Green Bay and will also keep doing his radio show.
Let me ask you, I'll just put it out there. If you are a fan of Horizon League basketball, UW Green Bay, do you like this move? Do you like this move? I mean, does this make you feel like and Green Bay this year had a hell of a basketball season. It wasn't like they were just zippy nobodies. They had a hell of a basketball season. And these mid-majors are looked at as stepping stones. You have a little bit of success, and all of a sudden you're off to the next program. You're looked at as using these things as stepping stones to get a bigger gig. I mean, eventually, if Gottlieb would have success, you would assume that he's off to a bigger program. That's the flat-out assumption right now. So, and he's always been a fan of Green Bay. Let me say this. When it comes to Green Bay, he's always had an affinity, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. He's always had an affinity for basketball here in the state of Wisconsin in a lot of different levels. So I wonder what made him say Green Bay is the place for me. Or was it the only job that said, yes, we'd love to have you? But, man, there's a lot of questions there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I'll open up phone lines. We don't usually get a lot of calls midday, but I'd open up phone lines for this. Doug Gottlieb, the next head coach of the UW Green Bay Panthers, How about that? That's crazy. Got a lot of people that are chiming in today from the 319. Where's 319? Where's the 319 area code? 319 saying that, here you go, the awful announcing, Foxy saying Doug Gottlieb leaving or coming to Wisconsin Green Bay to be the next head coach, saying, can you believe it? Robin Stoddard, by the way, said if Goff is getting $53 million a year, Love has another good season, he's going to get more than 60. So, they're going to try to wait this thing out. But I wouldn't wait it out if I'm Jordan Love. I mean, I may wait till the beginning of the year, but I'm not waiting an entire season. If Love goes down with an injury, his value drops exponentially. Because this is the last year of his deal. Packers don't want him to see free agency. He can get the money now. And with the possibility of an injury looming, and again, the possibility, I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying there's always that possibility. He could go out and pull an Aaron Rodgers 76 seconds into the season, and he's popping an Achilles. And all of a sudden, what's he going to get then? I see right now where that level is. And if I'm Jordan Love, I'm starting it right there. I'm going to say, give me $53 million a year. Okay, no, we're not going to get $53 million. Give me $150, $170 million guaranteed like Goff. Well, Goff's been in it now 9 years, going on a decade. He's been to an NFC championship game with a franchise that hasn't been there since 1957. He's done a lot more. He's accomplished more. Okay, what do you think? And if I'm the Packers, it doesn't matter what the total amount of money is. I'm going to say $140 million guaranteed. Try to make it right around between $49 and $52 million a year, somewhere in there. And try to make it 5 years and not 4. That way you've got him for an extra year. And he still gets another bite at the apple if he's good. But if you believe it, then you're probably going to pay it. But if not, and you still have a question because of where things are with, say, a total of 10 really good games in the National Football League, and you could say, well, you had 10 really good games, which means you had 8 not so good games. The good outweighs the bad, but what does that value come to? It's a great question. I can't imagine all of a sudden Jordan Love is going to become the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, unless you're Goody and you're Russ Ball going, he is 110% better than anything we've ever seen. Because if you say that, well, then you go ahead and pay the guy. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So, heck yeah. So the breaking news for those that don't know or just tuning us in, Doug Gottlieb's going to become he's not leaving the radio booth, to be honest with you. He's just going to be the next head coach at UW Green Bay. I know he's got ties to Wisconsin. His dad, I think his dad coached here. Grant, I don't have the bio sitting in front of me for Doug Gottlieb. I'm trying to pull it up from memory. But I think his dad coached here. He's always had an affinity for the Packers. That I know in talking to him. But I think his dad coached here. Or he has some connection, some kind of roots to Wisconsin.
Robert Henry Gottlieb, an American basketball coach, coached for UW Milwaukee from 1975 to 1980.
Yeah,
so that's the Wisconsin connection.
I knew it wasn't Wisconsin, but I thought it might have been Green Bay, but I didn't want to misspeak, or maybe even D3. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but I knew he had some roots here, but I just couldn't figure out what the hell it was. So, okay, his dad coached UW Milwaukee. So he's getting into the Horizon League. He'll face UW Milwaukee. He's going to a state that his dad had some success in. So there you go. Doug Gottlieb, next head coach at UW Green Bay. How about that? So there you have it. Hey, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We'll talk more about all of this stuff coming up. I got to tell you real quick, during the break, Todd at Skipper Buds. Now, they have my boat, and they've been working on the lower unit. The lower unit was getting old. I had it rebuilt last year, and there was a little pinhole in it, and they tried to weld it, and it wasn't working. Todd called me up, and he's like, Bill, I got to talk to you, which is never good. And I've had enough bad news today. He said, I was listening about the pipe outside of your home today. He said, I'm sorry about that, but I got some bad news. I said, okay, what? So he said, we tried to fix the lower unit, and the weld just didn't hold. He's trying to do it economically. And he said the weld didn't hold. So he said, we were starting to shop around for lower units, and they're expensive. He said, but one of my mechanics actually had one in that he collects old boats and old motors. He actually had one. It's geared differently, but they could fix it. I said, okay, great. He said, well, I got to tell you something. I'm like, oh my God, what else now? He said, well, somewhere, whoever did some work on this prior to, and there was a friend of mine who does some electrical stuff. He said, something happened with a ground wire. He said, we had a little bit of a spark, no big deal, but we're going to take care of it. We want to make sure that you're good to go. So they sent my dashboard to another place to get looked at and get rebuilt. So by the time it was all said and done, he's just like laughing. He said, this boat is just crazy. He said, every time we fix something, something else goes wrong. He said, but I am not going to let you take it away from us without being perfect. I said, okay, great. What does it cost me? He said, I'm only going to charge you the part for the dash. Other than that, we want you to enjoy your summer. You've had nothing but headaches. You've had problems with it, blah, blah, blah. So, and it was perfect and it was my fault. I screwed it up to begin with. So he said, we're going to work it out. We're going to take care of you. We're going to get you on the water. So I said, well, when am I going to get it back? Thinking, oh crap, here we go. I'm not going to see it until the end of July. He said, I'll get you done by next week. And he said, I'll even deliver it to your house myself. That's the service you get at Skipper Buds. He doesn't do it just for me. I'm a paying customer. Okay. Doesn't do it just for me. Does it for everybody. They're just that good. Skipper Buds, boat sales, service, storage. But Todd is the GM. Todd's the guy you talk to when you need a boat, whether it's new or it's used. If you got a problem, he does everything he can to help you out. That's just the way they are. So call him 262-544-1200. Say, first of all, Todd, you the man. Secondly, he's just that kind of a guy. He's a good guy over there. 262-544-1200. And I can't take much more bad news today. 262-544-1200. That's Skipper Buds in Pewaukee.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You ever have one of those days when you just couldn't come up with the right answer? Well, I know one answer that pretty much solves all problems. Ice cream. Yeah, it's the answer to everything, right? And right now, at Quick Trip, our rich, creamy, straight from our dairy, Nature's Touch 1 gallon pails of ice cream are just $4.99. Yeah, now that's an answer worth digging into. Come on, be a problem solver. Bring home some fresh, delicious Nature's Touch ice cream, only from Quick Trip.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright. It's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 48 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 48 months when you order by May 31st. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 5/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. Got a lot going on today. We got Kurt Hogue going to join us at the bottom of the hour, talk some Brewers baseball. Also, John Rothstein, CBS. We'll talk with him coming up. Doug Gottlieb has been, in case you didn't know, Doug Gottlieb has been hired as the next head coach at UW Green Bay. That's right, the radio talk show host who played basketball. His father coached basketball at UWM. He's got Wisconsin ties and such, but he is now the next head coach. He's the next head coach of UW Green Bay and the Phoenix. So he is going to be coming into town. A couple of things real quick, and I do want to expound upon that. But one of the other things I did want to make a mention of, and that is that with the 2024 NFL schedule slowly being released, they're dropping this thing on us slowly. So August 1st, Thursday night, August 1st is the first NFL preseason game, and the Texans are on the road taking on the Chicago Bears. Taking on the Bears. So that's the first game being released, so to speak. Then you've got September 5th, Thursday night, September 5th. You've got to kick off the season. The Baltimore Ravens are on the road taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. That is the kickoff to the season. That is a Thursday night game. Friday night, September 6th, you got the Packers on the road taking on the Eagles, which we already knew was going to happen anyway. Then on Sunday, September 8th, one of the games that is dropped, and that is an afternoon game. Mike McCarthy, the Dallas Cowboys, are on the road taking on the Cleveland Browns. Then on September 9th, which is the Monday night contest, we know the Jets are going to be taking on the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers takes his talents back out to the West Coast, where he always had the chip on his shoulder regarding the 49ers. Week 2, on a Thursday night, the Bills are on the road taking on the Dolphins. And then Sunday, September 15th, the nationally televised game will be, which is a 3:25 start, will be Cincinnati on the road, Joe Burrow against Patrick Mahomes again, and that rivalry continues. So those are some of the games that have dropped. Texans and Bears for the first preseason game. Ravens and Chiefs to kick off the season. Friday night from Brazil will be the Packers and the Eagles. The first nationally televised afternoon game at 3:25 start time Central Time will be the Browns hosting the Cowboys. The first Monday night game is going to be the Jets on the road taking on the 49ers. Then you've got the Thursday night contest, 7:15 kickoff, Dolphins hosting the Bills. And then the 3:25 afternoon game on CBS, which will be the national one, will be Cincinnati on the road taking on the Chiefs. That's some of the games that we know that have been kind of leaked out that we have found out about. So there you have it. But some good stuff regarding, and when they're all good games, they're all key matchups. I like about it. Like it a lot. I do want to, if you're a UW Green Bay fan, if you're a Green Bay fan, if you're a college basketball fan, your thoughts on Doug Gottlieb. He's not coming out of the radio booth. And I have not read all the details on all of this as of yet, but he's still going to do his radio show. How do you coach college basketball and still do the radio show? I don't know. I don't know how long that's going to last, if he's leaving the booth right away, or maybe it's something where he has to, finish a contract. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. But he apparently is still going to do Fox Sports Radio. And then I guess his day job will be, or as Grant put it, the side hustle will be coaching the UW Green Bay Phoenix. Grant, does it say if he's going to do that the entire time?
I have no reason to think that it won't just continue on as business as normal based on what I've read.
Okay. Well, I don't you find that just strange?
It's a lot, doing a 4-hour radio show every day it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of time. Now he's got producers and of course people who can help him, but all we've heard for the last 2 or 3 years is how demanding college coaching is nowadays because of the NIL and the transfer portal and all the things. So he's going to have a full plate.
Right.
It sounds like pretty full plate.
It's crazy. But like we said, he has ties here. And you got to start somewhere, I guess. And he is a name. He's certainly going to make some eyes and ears perk up in the Horizon League, just because he's been so connected to college basketball for so long in many different facets. So now you just wonder how he is going to be as a head coach. This is baffling to me. I mean, I've heard radio talk show hosts leaving the broadcast booth to become a politician. That I've heard of. I've heard them become PR people. They get a job offer and they, from going to being in the media to now advising companies or such how to deal with the media, whatever. Okay, I've heard of that. I've never heard of a guy that has never coached before leaving the radio booth to go to coaching. We've heard coaches that get fired, that become analysts or what have you, and then going back to coaching. That's understandable. But so late in your broadcast career, all of a sudden being the next head coach of a college basketball team, that's a little wild, a little strange. So hopefully it works out, because I think we're all Green Bay Phoenix fans. I mean, we're all fans of, good basketball and good stuff in the state of Wisconsin. No doubt about that. When we come back, Kurt Ho is going to talk to us a little bit about we talked with our buddy Chuck Freeman a little earlier, some Brewers baseball. We'll talk with Kurt when we come back and get his take on what's going on with the Brewers. Obviously, the Rhys Hoskins injury. Colin Ray, not a bad start last night. Quality start, but just not enough early on for the Brewers to be able to overcome by a couple of runs. And then you've got, the injuries are beginning to mount. You've got some guys that are not pulling their weight in the outfield right now. And yet, surprisingly, with everything that's gone on, if we would have said, here's all the injuries that have taken place, and oh, by the way, the Brewers are still well above 500. The Brewers are still in first place on what is almost May 15th. It's May 14th. If we'd have said all of that, if we started listing off all the injuries that have happened, the pitching woes, guys that start out on fire and then kind of cool off, and yet through it all, the Milwaukee Brewers are still in first place on May 14th. I think you and I all would have thrown money down and said, we'll take that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. We would have been betting against the Brewers at this point. But they're still right there. They're still right there. So we'll talk to Kurt Hogue when we come back, so don't go anywhere. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at One Collision County Line. They did a fantastic job on my vehicle, made it look like brand new, like the day it rolled out of the showroom. And the best part about it is they work directly with your insurance company. They work directly with you, and they text your phone almost every day to let you know exactly the process and what your car is going through. That's One Collision County Line. They took care of mine. They can make yours like brand new as well. Call them 262-251-1700, 262-251-1700. That is One Collision County Line. Kurt Hogue talking Brewers next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
At Road America, it's racing at its finest. The Road America 2024 Season Pass is the most affordable motorsports entertainment option in Wisconsin. You have access to over 50 days of on-track action at America's National Park of Speed, the SCCA Vintage Weekend, Superbikes, IndyCars, IMSA, and more. It's all at Road America. And don't forget about the great offers for veterans, military members, students, groups, and corporate opportunities as well. Go to roadamerica.com. That's roadamerica.com. Road America, America's National Park of Speed.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Felt a little grab in the hamstring, and kind of learned over the years, especially not to push soft tissue stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else for you guys right now. I'm sure we'll get some imaging tomorrow and see where we're at.
Oh boy, Reese Hoskins, a little bit of a grab. Now we see how long it's going to be before he can come back. Unfortunately, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at J&L Tire and Service Center. J&L Tire and Service Center. They want to say thank you for making them the best tire dealer that's out there. But they do tires, they do brakes, they do major injury repair. And it doesn't matter if it's a minivan all the way up to the big rigs. They can handle it all. They've got a big facility right there off of 94 at Johnson Creek and on Boulder Road in Watertown. Very philanthropic and very trustworthy. That is J&L Tire. Go to jnltire.com. That's jnltire.com. Kurt Hogue joining us from the Journal Sentinel over on the hotline. Kurt, how you doing today, man?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I am good. I got to start with this whole lifesaver thing. This has been fascinating to read, and I saw yesterday Pat Murphy talking about it. And so for those that don't know, explain why lifesavers have become so prominent a story in the Milwaukee Brewers clubhouse.
Well, it all dates back to Pat Murphy's days at ASU. He had a recruiting theory about he wanted what he called orange lifesavers. To him, the orange is the second best lifesaver flavor. That's a contentious point in my mind and many others, but nevertheless, the orange was the second best for him. And so those are the kind of players he wanted, not the top tier, the top athlete kind of guys. He wanted the second level of guys, the hard workers that have some talent, and it worked out pretty well for him at ASU. And so that little nugget kind of shaped this story. The orange lifesavers shape up the entire Brewers roster for the most part too. So it kind of it all has come back full circle, and it was a fun one to put together because I hadn't eaten lifesavers in many years, and kind of brought back a candy that has fallen by the wayside in my life as well.
It's funny. I have bags of wintergreen lifesavers everywhere. I've got them in my house. I got them in my car. I got them in the motorcycle. So I have bags of the wintergreens everywhere. I don't have the flavored ones though. And I was trying to think the other day about the old. Yeah, I was trying to think the other day about the old rolls of them. When you used to be able to buy the roll and you put it in your pocket. Now they just come in big bags.
Yeah, everyone said that they have the gummies too, but no one actually has eaten the hard, crunchy lifesavers. But apparently they're in the Brewers clubhouse. A couple players gave me a couple rolls, and I was like, wow, this takes me back to fourth grade.
Right. Yeah, I know. It takes you back years and years. Remember when you used to get the old book for Christmas? And I think everybody got one. It was a stocking stuffer. You get all the different flavors. That was great.
That spans generations.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. So, hey, we got to talk a little bit about Reese Hoskins. He finally starts to bring the batting average up. He still has the power numbers. Things are just starting to look really good. He's getting more playing time, and all of a sudden the hamstring injury. What kind of a blow is this to this lineup?
It's going to be tough. I mean, we'll find out hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, just what exactly the severity is. This is the lineup that, they just got the benefit of Christian Yelich coming back. And they also just, like you mentioned, Reese Hoskins was just finally starting to swing the bat to the full level that he's capable of. He had been solid all year, but the last week and a half, he had really been picking up the power production and the run producing production as well. Luckily, Jake Bauers is swinging it pretty well right now, but the hole that it leaves is obviously now, you're moving Bauers to first base full time, or, you're calling Tyler Black up. You're adding one more guy to the lineup who is not proven and who has been struggling for a while, whether that's Churio, whether that's Tyler Black, whether that's, I don't know, keeping Blake Perkins in there every day. Like, the domino effect is where it's going to hurt the most, because while the Brewers offense has been really good on the whole, there's a cascade of guys who are really struggling right now, and having Hoskins out means that multiple of those guys are probably going to be playing every single day.
Well, we're sitting here talking about when you're going to get Garrett Mitchell back. You're trying to figure out some of these injuries that they've had, and what you're going to need as you start looking into, mid to late June, getting into July trade deadlines. I think the consensus is if you find yourself a starter along the way, that you can move somebody out of the starting rotation, put them into the bullpen. Therefore, you strengthen the starting rotation and you strengthen the bullpen. And things tend to get better in that case. But, let's just say that if this is relatively severe, he could be down well after the All-Star break at this point, because you're only, 6 weeks away from the All-Star break at this point, right?
Wow, we are dangerously close to the All-Star break, although it's only mid-May. But, yeah, there's a wide range of what this injury seemingly could be. Maybe it's just a couple-week IL thing. Maybe it's a 60-day IL thing. The good news, relatively speaking, seems to be that it's totally unrelated to the ACL. It's not even in the same leg as the ACL he tore last year and he missed all of 2023 with. But, the Brewers are probably, as Rhys Hoskins goes in for this MRI, crossing the fingers, praying, hoping that it's on the 2-week side. It never is a good sign when a guy says he felt something catch, but there's some optimism, I think, still surrounding this for now, at least until more news comes out that it didn't look like a full blown blown out hamstring.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Gary Sanchez leave the game a couple weeks ago running to first and pulling his hamstring, and he didn't miss any time. So there's just a wide range on these sorts of injuries. It's not quite as ambiguous as the Christian Yelich back whenever that flares up, but it's still a little murky.
Well, speaking of Christian Yelich back, they gave him all the time in the world to feel good. He came back over 5, and you kind of went, oh my goodness, palm to forehead. He's been hitting the hell out of the ball just like he did before he ended up going down with the injury. And the other day, when against the Cardinals, when he yanked that foul ball down the right field line and pulled and got all of it, I thought, okay, the back's not an issue. He turned on that thing, and that's something we had not seen him do consistently. So I'm glad they gave him all the time in the world to come back and be healthy, but that to me that was the Christian Yelich swing that we're all used to seeing. You know what I mean?
Totally. He'd been doing that a little more early in the season too. You could tell he was locked in with this new swing, and he'd been pulling a lot of fly balls and 5-6 homers already. And then it was the next pitch, or maybe 2 pitches later, where he pulls one down the right field line again, and he busts it all the way for a triple standing up. That, no problems with the back there, where you're thinking, okay, he just hit one 400 feet foul and then follows it up by sprinting 270 feet to third base. So, it's always something to monitor, but at this point, seemingly no concerns with the back or any lingering effects on performance. He's been really good since he came back.
So we know that the Brewers still in first place, and if we just said, hey, with all these injuries and all the question marks and all the things that are going on, if they're in first place by a half game come May 14th, 15th, man, count your blessings. We would have all taken that in a heartbeat. What do you think needs to happen? Because we were talking earlier with Chuck Freeman, and it was like, well, does Churio need to go down? Does Sal Frelick need to go down? Once you get Garrett Mitchell back, how are they going to manage that roster? Who probably could benefit the most right now from seeing a little bit of pitching down in the minor league system?
You could pick either one of those guys probably, but there's also, tangible benefits to keeping them up here as well. Churio's going to get better by playing every single day, but the biggest challenge for him is going to be big league pitching, and theoretically that will be of the greatest benefit to him long term, because you're really thinking long term with him. But you also want to get Sal Frelick right, and he could probably still hit really, really well against AAA pitching, and maybe that's the kind of get right couple of weeks that he needs. Unfortunately, right now the Brewers are in a spot where they just don't really have a lot of depth on the position player side, especially in the outfield, where they can send any of those guys down, especially now with Hoskins, potentially getting hurt, and the ramifications of Bowers not being able to play outfield all that much anymore. It's like they just don't have a ton of they don't have healthy 40-man options in the outfield right now. You'd have to call someone up that's not currently on the 40-man roster. There's moves that, have to get done with that. And is the guy that's not on the 40-man going to be any better right now? So yeah, it's just a big tricky situation until Garrett Mitchell comes back, and he's still a bit of ways away.
Okay, let me ask you this, because we don't take this into consideration when you look at your own roster, but right now it's really a two-team race. It's the Cubs and the Brewers. And, Pittsburgh got off to a fast start, and then they have faltered terribly. St. Louis stinks. Cincinnati's an idiot of a team. So do you just kind of react only if the Cubs really begin to take off and things matriculate for them? Because I don't see the Cubs getting dramatically better either. You know what I mean? So as much as Craig can manipulate that roster, manipulate the sabermetrics and such, I don't see, you don't have to panic, because it's not like the Cubs have the ability to go on a 12-game win streak. It's kind of like the Cubs are who they are at this point as well, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there was about 3-4 weeks there where it was starting to look like maybe we were wrong about this division, but nope. Pretty much everyone was spot on with this division coming in. And the Cardinals are even worse than I think we figured they would be. They're pretty dang bad. So it should basically be a 2-horse race, Brewers and Cubs, and they both have gotten off to pretty good starts. I'm not exactly sure either team will keep this pace up over 162, but yeah, I think that 90-win range sounds about fair for both teams, which would be the Cubs would have to slow down a little bit to get there. I mean, their starting pitching is incredible right now, but there are also some other holes with that team, just as the Brewers have some holes with their team. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. We might get a really close race between Craig Counsell's boys and the guys up here in Milwaukee.
Hey, before I let you go, at what point, if you're Matt Arnold, are you on the phone going, okay, we're going to have to start making some moves here?
Right now?
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't happen much in baseball, but we've seen the Brewers do it with Willie Adames. We saw Luis Arraez get traded a couple weeks ago. Now, like, these deals take a little bit longer to get done. Like, there may be some instances in which you would have to have some legwork already done on a deal. That aided the Padres in getting Arraez. Like, some previous discussions could help. But I wouldn't expect anything done, relatively soon, especially like the Brewers would need starting pitching help, and that's not going to be available in heavy supply right now. But I think, there's no reason to think the Brewers aren't absolutely working the phones and, laying some of that foundation for those conversations now. It's been done before. Why not now?
Yep, no doubt. Kurt, always great to touch base with you. We appreciate it. Great story on the lifesavers and digging deep into the favorite candies we had as kids, and we certainly appreciate it, pal, okay?
Thanks, appreciate it.
There you go. Kurt Hogue joining us for a couple of minutes from the Journal-Sentinel. Had a really good story in the paper about, the value of the orange lifesaver, which Pat Murphy said everybody wants the red ones. Everybody likes the red ones. But what you look for is the orange one, the one that a lot of people don't like, but they're overlooking because it's so quality, it's so good. So you got to go find the orange lifesavers that are out there. And that's how that story came about. So there you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up. Doug Gottlieb, the new head coach of the UW men's basketball team, the Green Bay Phoenix. He's a-coming. Hey, I was just down there the other day. I stopped by and I said hi to Dave and his wife down there, Sobelman's Pub and Grill on St. Paul Avenue for the big burgers and fantastic burgers, fries, all that kind of good stuff. They have their world famous Bloody Marys, that's for sure. But they also have another Sobelman's in Waukesha, if you did not know. It's right across the street from La Estacion, right there on Williams Street. And Sobelman's Pub and Grill, been around a long, long, long time, a tradition in the state of Wisconsin, more so in Milwaukee. But whenever you come to town, it's one of those places that a lot of people like to go to because of those crazy big-ass giant Bloody Marys. But good burgers, really good food, great place to go. They always say, let's catch up.
Meet at Sobelman's.
Milwaukee and Waukesha.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright. It's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 48 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 48 months when you order by May 31st. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 5/31/2024.
Suit up for the $800,000 Sports Car Series at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. April through May. Score free play, cash, one of 4 new Toyota GR86s or a new Toyota Supra. Play with your club card to earn entries. 5 times the entries on drawing days and when the Milwaukee Brewers play at home. Got what it takes? Slugger, only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit PaceBig.com/sportscar. Must be 21 and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show, we continue on. Coming up, Coming up after the top of the hour, we are going to talk a little bit about the hire, in case you haven't heard. Doug Gottlieb, radio talk show host, long time for CBS and then Fox Sports, is now the next head coach of UW Green Bay Phoenix men's basketball team. So John Rothstein, who broke the news from CBS, is going to join us coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So don't go anywhere. We're going to talk with him about that and get your opinion on that. You've got more and more kind of leaking out in regards to the NFL schedule. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we come back. Jared Goff getting now $53 million a year in his new contract extension. What does that mean for the Packers, and what does that mean for Jordan Love? Where do you believe Jordan Love's numbers are going to fall when it's all said and done? So we've got that to discuss. We got Brewers. By the way, Brewers breaking news, nothing major, but some Brewers news. The Milwaukee Brewers, if you're going to go to Target Field on July 21st, they moved that game up from 1:10 start time to 12:05 start time. And the reason being is Major League Baseball announced it's going to be part of the Sunday leadoff game, which is now going to air exclusively on Roku. Bally Sports Wisconsin will not carry that game, but it'll be on Roku as part of the MLB package for Sunday leadoff. So if you were going to that game, you just need to be aware of the start time. If you were going to sit home and watch it, if you don't have Roku, you're not going to see it, unfortunately. So there you have it. The world of streaming, right? The world of streaming. We got another hour yet to go. So don't go anywhere, because coming up next, John Rothstein is going to join us. We're going to talk some college basketball and the weird hire. Doug Gottlieb, out of the radio broadcast booth, now going to the sidelines and prowling up at UW Green Bay for the men's basketball program. We're going to discuss coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show. Don't go anywhere.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers are likely going to be without Rhys Hoskins tonight as they face off against the Pirates again. The first baseman left last night's loss to Pittsburgh with a hamstring injury. Manager Pat Murphy said they would know more today.
Rhys's injury, obviously, he's got a hamstring. We don't know anything more. I have an MRI in the morning. You know, lose one of our leaders. We just got Yelly back. That's a big blow. Usually hamstrings are not better in a few days.
Hoskins told reporters he felt a little grab in his hamstring right as he reached first base after a single to right field. It came in another loss for the Crew, their second straight. Tonight, Milwaukee will send Joe Ross to the mound. Comes in 1-4 with a 4.75 ERA. The Pirates counter with Quinn Priester. He's 0-3 with a 3.86 ERA. First pitch is set for 6:40 at American Family Field. Turning to the Bucs, the team has reportedly declined Detroit's request to interview GM John Horst for their president of basketball operations position. Horst got to start with the Pistons and is a Michigan native.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers are nearing the end of phase 2 of their offseason program. Going to get phase 3 going next week with the start of the OTAs. They've got 3 weeks of those before a mandatory minicamp in the middle of June wraps up the offseason. Meanwhile, the NFL will release its full schedule tomorrow. Packers already know where and when their season will start in Brazil against the Eagles on September 6th. The rest of the slate going to be filled in tomorrow. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. On this Tuesday edition, some wild stuff out of the world of college basketball. We bring in now from CBS, college basketball insider John Rothstein joining us as the announcement was made a little bit earlier today, and he broke the news that Doug Gottlieb was with CBS and now with Fox Sports. He is coming out of the radio talk show booth, so to speak. He's going to be the next head coach of the UW Green Bay Phoenix men's basketball program. Interesting stuff. John, how you doing today?
Great, Bill. Great to connect with you, and I appreciate you having me on. Big fan for a long time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We always follow your stuff, that's for sure, when it comes to college hoops. So, what I've read is it correct? He is still going to do his radio show?
That is what I have been told, and I know that was a big talking point the last time that Doug was involved with the job. And, I'm curious to see how that obviously works out. It's an interesting dynamic. Like, I'm curious if Doug has a bye game, obviously, in the winter, whether they're playing Wisconsin or another Big Ten school, and they're obviously getting ready for that scout, how he's going to balance that with, obviously, maybe what's going on with the New England Patriots. But, having the opportunity to be around Doug now for a long time, he is a truly unique individual with his ability to consume and balance different things. I was always amazed by it when we worked at the same network. And he is, without question, a brilliant basketball mind. He played like a coach, and he was a great point guard at Oklahoma State. And, obviously I was always very, very impressed by his feel for the game and his ability to detect and sense out situations. Now, he's never coached before, but he was definitely somebody who I enjoyed working with because he had a great, great basketball mind.
He's got a tremendous basketball mind. I'll tell you that. I agree with you 100%. We've had him on the show numerous times about numerous different things, and he's always been very on top of it and very articulate in doing so. It's like in today's day and age with the NIL being what it is, recruiting being what it is, portals being what they are, it's like, how do you manage coaching and doing a radio talk show? You got to have a hell of a staff around you. You know what I mean?
You've got to have a tremendous staff. You have to do a tremendous job managing your time. It's a tremendous undertaking. Now, I understand why keeping a national radio show would be in a situation where it would be obviously great promotion for the school, for the university. But, I'm not breaking any news here. College basketball and running a program at the mid-major level has never been more difficult because it's so hard to retain players. Look in the Horizon League right now at what Greg Campy has dealt with at Oakland. And remember, this is a guy who beat Kentucky and went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. If you look at his program the last couple of years, Trey Townsend, who was the best player on that Oakland team last year, is now playing for the University of Arizona. And if you look further back at other players that Greg Campy has had throughout his time, Micah Parrish already went to San Diego State, went to a Final Four, and is now in the Big Ten at Ohio State. These are all players that obviously, if they stayed with Oakland, would have grown and evolved into one of the best mid-majors in college basketball, a top 20 type team. That's not the case anymore. If you are in a scenario where you are at the mid-major level, you have to think of things as a 1-year deal in building a team, and that now is the task that Doug Gottlieb will undertake in Green Bay.
So I want to get into all of that with you coming up here momentarily, but I do want to talk about Doug as a head coach. For somebody that has not been a head coach before, to get this kind of a gig, last year UW Green Bay had success in the Horizon League, came in second, but tell me how difficult it is to not even have that coaching experience to now come in and wrap your arms around the organization and kind of start fresh. You know what I mean?
I can tell you this from somebody who's had discussions with Doug, more so when we worked together at CBS. Doug was always fascinated, obviously, by people like Steve Kerr, people like Fred Hoiberg, who were able to go into coaching without having any coaching experience. Now we're in a situation where we see Doug getting that opportunity, maybe not at the same level. Fred Hoiberg went and took the Iowa State job, and obviously Steve Kerr went to the Golden State Warriors. But now Doug is going to have his opportunity to paint on a blank canvas and be a Division I college coach. And I know that for a long time, he obviously wanted to go back to his alma mater, which he loves so deeply, Oklahoma State, and be the head coach of the Cowboys. And I know publicly he went after that job several times, but now he gets an opportunity to, cut his teeth in a state which I know is very, very near and dear to his heart because his father was a college coach in the state of Wisconsin. And he gets, like you said, a job where last year Sundance Wicks did an incredible job, leading Green Bay to, in the upper tier of the Horizon League. And now we'll see if that can be sustained, obviously, under Doug.
Talking with John Rothstein, a CBS Sports College Basketball Insider. Doug Gottlieb, the next head coach of the UW Green Bay Phoenix. I do want to ask you about basketball in the state. This year, somewhat of a disappointing ouster by the Wisconsin Badgers. Greg Gard, a little bit under fire, obviously. He lost some guys in the portal. He's gained some guys in the portal. It hasn't had the same level of success since Bo Ryan stepped down. Give me your thoughts on the basketball program right now in Wisconsin.
Well, I think the one thing we need to look at is Wisconsin was always viewed as a really, really good job if you made the NCAA tournament every year and you were in the mix in the Big Ten. And I firmly believe that if you look at the Wisconsin program, the entire level of expectation around that program changed after 14 and 15 when Bo Ryan took Wisconsin to back-to-back Final Fours. Now, did this program also go to a Final Four in 2000 under Dick Bennett? Absolutely. But from there, I felt that there was a changing of the expectations for Wisconsin basketball. Now, if we go through things chronologically, I thought that Wisconsin had a Final Four caliber team in 2016 when it lost to Notre Dame in the Sweet 16. And if you remember that team had a lead late in the Notre Dame game. I think Vito Brown made a 3-point shot from the right wing, and Wisconsin's ball security down the stretch cost it a chance to go to the Elite Eight and play North Carolina, who went to the national title game. Now let's look at 2017. Wisconsin, to me, that year with Koenig, Hayes, Showalter, was a team and a program that probably underachieved a little bit during the regular season, but beat Villanova, the number 1 seed in the round of 32, and lost at the buzzer to Florida in the Sweet 16. Those were two golden opportunities for Wisconsin to get to the Elite Eight and potentially the Final Four that obviously were not cashed in on. That leaves, a little bit to be desired probably for the Wisconsin fan. And I think considering the way things have went the last couple of years, there's a sense of frustration because since Chioza made that shot for Florida, Wisconsin has not been to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. I think there's enough of a returning nucleus for Wisconsin right now to be back in the mix as an NCAA tournament team under Greg Gard. Obviously, they're going to have to solidify their lead guard position a little bit in the start of fall practice, but with Klesmith, Blackwell, Nolan Winter, and Stephen Crowell, there's still enough for Wisconsin to be Wisconsin, in my opinion, next season.
Now, you brought up something earlier, and I want to kind of circle back to that, and that's talking about the portal and what's going on with college basketball. And in essence, you're re-recruiting, and it's a new team every year. I don't know how the NFL or anybody else would survive with everybody being a free agent every year. How does college basketball or college sports in general begin to fix this problem that has become so evident now where it's not even fun to watch at times anymore?
Well, I think it's a great question, and I think this is what we have to remember. Let's not blame the kids because the kids should be in a situation where they should cash in and maximize their value any chance that they get. We need to blame the system. And the system right now is not stable, and it hasn't been stable for a long time. And I remember, 4 years ago talking about the potential effects if a one-time transfer rule was put into place and what it would do, not just for college basketball, but for college sports. And in 4 years, we've seen that. Now, I understood, even though I thought it would create anarchy from all layers of the sport, I understood the want and the need to have a universal transfer rule where every single student athlete had the opportunity to one time be able to transfer without penalty. I understood that, even though obviously I thought there was going to be a lot of unintended consequences. But the fact now that we are in a scenario where not only can you transfer multiple times, but there is nothing that is binding somebody to a school or a university. It is why we have college sports right now in a volatile, chaotic setting that needs to be stabilized. The sooner the better, but I don't think that's going to come from the NCAA, because the NCAA has made it clear that anything that is not in the best interest of the student athlete is not going to be obviously looked at as something that could be enforced. So I think we're going to need to get to the point where these students become employees of the school and they sign a contract for a certain amount of time that makes them obviously tied to the school. And if the kids wish to leave, they're going to have to pay some sort of a buyout, just like a professional would.
Yeah. And that's the idea that's been thrown around a lot, and I'm completely in favor of it. Absolutely. I 100% agree. Real quick before I let you go. So Doug's jumping into the Horizon League. We talked about Oakland. Obviously, we've had some success here and then some years of down years at UW Milwaukee, UW Green Bay. I guess my question is, what level of success should we now begin to expect, especially when you got a guy like Doug jumping into this Horizon League and bringing that national notoriety to this league?
Well, I would expect Doug to have Green Bay in position again to be nationally relevant because he's the coach. I mean, if he's going to be still doing his radio show, you are going to be having your head coach in Green Bay hosting a national radio show that could create some interesting scheduling opportunities. That could create different types of dynamics that we haven't really seen in a long time in college sports, and maybe haven't seen ever. I believe Tom Brennan did a radio show when he was the head coach at Vermont, but Doug is obviously a different type of personality, and as somebody who's known him for a long time and knows that he's really desired this opportunity, I'm very happy for him.
Hey, real quick, one more question, and that is, you know, the mid-majors are always looked at as stepping stones. And every time you see success here in the state of Wisconsin out of a mid-major, off they go. 1 year, one hit season, and one and done. So is there an ultimate goal here? Does Doug want to get to a blue chip program eventually, improve his wares? Or is this something he just wants to do just because of the love of the sport?
You know, I think Doug wants to get into coaching, but anybody now who wants to be in a situation, obviously, where they are in college basketball, I think, to be honest, you know, Bill, we're looking at a scenario where we've got 5 leagues: the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, the Big East, and the ACC, who are separated from the rest. I'm not saying that the Mountain West can't obviously go on a run like it did last year and get 6 teams in the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying that Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Memphis aren't relevant programs. They are. And I'm not saying that mid-majors can't have a day or two during March Madness where they're nationally relevant. But if you're not in one of those 5 leagues, you're on the outside looking in. And that's just the way things have shifted right now with this new landscape of college sports.
No doubt. John, great stuff as always. Love having you on the program, and we'll touch base real soon whenever we get a chance to, okay?
Thanks, Bill. Great talking with you, man.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon. John Rothstein, CBS Sports college basketball insider, friend of Doug Gottlieb, FODG. And Doug Gottlieb, in case you are just tuning us in, he is the new head coach of the UW Green Bay Phoenix, and he's currently working for Fox Sports, doing a radio show on Fox Sports 1. He was with CBS for a long time. He does stuff with Westwood One as well for a studio analyst when it comes to college basketball. And Doug Gottlieb, as John said, and his friendship with Doug is well known. Doug's been wanting to do this for a while and public about it for the most part, but this came to fruition rather quick. And today was the day that the announcement was, at least the news broke, that Doug Gottlieb is now the next head coach of the UW Green Bay Phoenix. So there you go. Interesting stuff and great stuff. Good job by Grant getting John Rothstein on, man. That's a good turnaround. Now we get Doug on. That's big. We'd really get good turnaround. But we'll wait for probably the announcement out of UW Green Bay and then get Doug Gottlieb on the program. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Provisor, who has the section in Provisor of Veterans America. They believe in owning the land you defend. If you're a veteran, military member, family member thereof, they believe it. So if you are looking for a mortgage, a refi, whatever it may be, and if you're looking for, say, 0 down payment, some looser credit requirements, no PMI, some governmental things you need to kind of hurdle and get through, the loopholes, there is no better company that specializes in just this than Veterans America or Provisor. Get a hold of our buddy James Mercado, 262-745-3333, 262-745-3333. He works for you. Go to veteransamerica.com if you want to see more, but 262-745-3333. Get a hold of James, and he can help you out, whether it's a first mortgage, refi, next mortgage, selling a house, buying a house, whatever it happens to be. He can advise, and even if you don't go with him, he can advise you on some things that you may be missing out on specifically, especially as inflation and the rates have continued to go up. You want to save as much money as you can. 262-745-3333. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you. Glad you're with us. Brewers coming up tonight, taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Game 2 of the 3-game series at American Family Field. 6:40 broadcast time tomorrow. It's a 12:10, I think, is start time. So make sure you download the app and you keep us on your phone or your mobile device or your laptop, whatever it may be. Go to WOZN, The Zone Madison. You can always watch it on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can find us there as well. So we got, like, games are starting to now leak out. We're starting to find out some of these games regarding the NFL. So, Grant, let's go over what's out there. You got a full list of everything that's now kind of been dripped our way?
We basically have, through Adam Schefter, I think the NFL very directly pushed these out. It's not like someone got a hold of information. We know the Thursday night opener. We know opening night. We know Friday night, which is in Brazil. We know America's Game of the Week on Fox. We know Monday Night Football. And then we know the first Thursday night game. So that's what we know. That's kind of the cluster from the first week. Do you want me to give these to you one by one and we can react to them? I know that we've known some of these, but why don't we start with that Thursday night opener, Ravens at Chiefs? It's a great game. The opening night is always a great game, but normally the NFL, like, they kind of take a roundabout way to get to that great game. Like, they don't go with the obvious matchup. This is the obvious matchup. This is the AFC Championship game we just watched.
This is
a couple months ago.
Don't forget, they always do the Super Bowl winner gets Thursday night. So it's always a Super Bowl winner that gets Thursday night. But to do the rivalry game like this, or at least last year's AFC Championship game, that's diving head first right into the season. And also, don't forget, Thursday nights have not traditionally been a big ratings night. They've given them rather craptastic games. This is giving Prime the ability to get off the season on the right foot. So I mean, we'll all be glued to the TVs. We'll all be watching that contest without a doubt. So I'll be looking forward to it just like everybody else will. But it'll be. Remember, last year, Kansas City got off. It was Detroit. Remember, they got Detroit first. Mm-hmm. Detroit beat them. So this will be the same level of hype and hyperbole and such. And don't forget, also, Kansas City's looking to get themselves a stadium. So there's going to be that whole thing looming over Kansas City because they want to get this deal done. They want to get the taxpayer money and get that whole that what would be that new stadium. They want to break ground on that thing, I think, in a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. So they got to get that thing passed. So it's just another highlight for Kansas City to say, hey, this is who we are. We're here on prime time. Take a look at it. You don't want to lose us because I can't imagine Kansas City ever leaving Kansas City. But, it would be like Green Bay leaving Green Bay. But there's always that possibility. So they're putting that in prime time. Yeah.
So it's normally the NFL, like I said, takes a roundabout way. Like, we didn't think, Lions Chiefs turned out to be an awesome game and the NFL was right. And then 2 years ago, it was Buccaneers Cowboys. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a big NFC matchup. Like, they're just going right for it. They're going for the full banana. Ravens Chiefs rematch, the AFC Championship game. We've talked Packers Eagles plenty. That's the Friday night game in Brazil. Any thoughts on that as we get closer before we move on?
No, not really. I mean, we all know what's going to happen and we all know that it's coming. I do like the fact that it's a standalone. So I'm kind of excited about that, but beyond that, it's like, it's a Packer game. And at least you and I and everybody else is sitting down on Sunday and we're enjoying a full slate of football on Sunday, which by the way, we will see the debut of Tom Brady in the next game that you're about to mention, I feel.
Yep, and this is the first America's Game of the Week. It's Cowboys at Browns on Sunday. So it's not at Jerry World, which I'm actually okay with because it's a beautiful stadium. You've been there, but it's kind of boring on TV. Yeah. Cowboys at Browns Sunday. That'll be Tom Brady's debut, 3:25 on Fox.
3:25 on Fox, and that'll be the first time we hear from Tom Brady. Unless, of course, he decides to come out of the broadcast booth and somebody calls him to say, hey, can you play one more year? Remember, he dropped that little nugget when he was doing one of those podcasts sitting in a barber's chair, where he said, maybe I would, I'd be willing to take a phone call. So, and I can't imagine it happening, but that'll be the first time that we see Tom Brady, and it'll be doing the Cowboys, Browns, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, two guys getting a ton of money that haven't done anything in the postseason. So it'll be a good matchup.
Deshaun Watson hasn't done anything in the regular season for the Browns yet. He was awful last year. And I think Brady, I don't think he wants to come back out of retirement. Part of him might want to. I think the businessman in him knows that he can't. I think he wants teams to want him.
Yes.
I think he wants teams to call. I think that's what he wants. Yep. It's like we all have that friend who never does anything with you, but they get mad if you don't invite them.
Exactly.
Because they want to be included.
Right.
I think that's what's going on. Monday Night Football, we mentioned this earlier, Jets at 49ers. Aaron Rodgers going to the Bay, the team that passed on him. So certainly ESPN won't do 2 hours of pregame with that whole chestnut, that backstory.
That'll start on Monday morning when Mike Greenberg, John Greenberg's the president of the Admirals. Mike Greenberg wakes up and he's wearing his Jets jammies and he's just out of his mind and giving the verbal to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and such going over to San Francisco. So that'll be an all-day affair. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers going back to San Francisco, the team that passed on him. We all know it's all history, it's all there. But we'll see what kind of a foot they get up. Pardon the pun. What kind of a foot they get off on, because there's a lot riding. I think there's a lot riding on both teams going into this season. But at least we've seen San Francisco in a Super Bowl. The Jets had these aspirations, and every time they pick up a big name, they do something, it just seems to blow up in their face. So Aaron Rodgers carrying all the hopes and dreams of every Jets fan with him as he takes the field at Levi Stadium. So that'll be a game I'm sure we're all going to sit down and watch and gawk at.
I think Jets fans probably would be okay starting the season under the radar a little bit.
Right.
Like, I don't know that Jets fans love this. I think this is the NFL going, no. We put you in primetime all last year, and Rodgers got hurt, and we didn't get what was coming to us. You're right back in the spotlight. We're coming for what's ours, which is kind of funny.
Yep.
The first Thursday night game. So this will be the first game on Prime. So technically week 2, the first game of week 2. And we learned this earlier today. The Bills and the Dolphins on Thursday night. So a divisional matchup, big matchup. What do you think of that?
I like that. I mean, again, Prime gets another big time game, and it's a division rival game. It's Tua's trying to, again, make a name for himself and take that Dolphins team to the next level. They've picked up even more talent on the offensive side of the football. So no excuses for Tua at this point, who's performed pretty well when he's had the opportunity. And again, without Stephon Diggs, this is going to be kind of the first real look nationally at what Josh Allen has to work with, and has the window closed on the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott. So and this one is on the road. This is in Miami. So I'm anxious for that game because I wanted so badly for the Bills to be able to get there, just for the Bills to be able to finally put the bugaboo behind them. But it's just like every time they start to get over the hump, they something happens and they run themselves into the ground. And now the window's starting to close because of the money. Stephon Diggs gone. Maybe he was a problem. Maybe he was a headache. Maybe we'll see the offense operate in a different manner. But I think the window is starting to slam shut for the Buffalo Bills. But it's a good game. It's a really good game to lead up with.
They signed MVS. Do you have an opinion on that? 1 year, and I'm trying to find it. $4.5 million, including $1.1 million signing bonus.
He will be body slammed in the parking lot by Bills Mafia if he continues to drop passes. He shows up in the postseason, though. But all season long, he drops passes and looks bad until he gets to the postseason. And all of a sudden, he becomes a target for Patrick Mahomes, and he catches passes in the postseason and touchdowns in Super Bowl. So I can't figure him out, but they'll body slam him out in the parking lot.
So MVS has gone from Rodgers to Mahomes to Josh Allen. Not bad. Pretty good company, right? That's not bad business by MVS. One other game that we did come to learn, and I don't know why this got out or who wanted it to get out, but we did learn that week 2, after the Chiefs have a 10-day layoff because they open on Thursday night, they're going to host Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, how about that? They get 2 big games that are now considered rivalries, and they get them both at home.
Yeah.
Both of those, they start the season at home against the Ravens, and they get Cincinnati at home against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's had their number. Joe Burrow coming back from obviously the thumb injury that put him out the rest of last season. So it'll be his return. Obviously, you've got, the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champions. Boy, a tough road to go for the Chiefs to go 1-2 punch like that to start the season off. But we're all going to be watching because it's 2 great quarterbacks who have squared off in the postseason. Remember, Cincinnati's had their number specifically there. They won an AFC championship game in Kansas City to go to a Super Bowl to face the Rams. So, again, Cincinnati going back there, and that'll be that. This has just turned into an out-of-division rivalry that seems to occur every season now. It's kind of like when the Packers would always face San Francisco or face the Dallas Cowboys. You've got Cincinnati and Kansas City now facing off against one another again.
Feels a lot like those couple of years where the Packers would either, the first couple of weeks, maybe not week 1, but they'd always be out at Candlestick, or they'd be playing Seattle. And I think it's worth mentioning, Joe Burrow, a little Packers-ish, at least with Rodgers at the end, like his teams have been slow starters.
Yeah.
Whether it's, he's been banged up or the team just takes a couple weeks to gel. So I think that's going to be important. They're going to have to start fast and be good right away.
Yep.
Week 2 against Chiefs.
And will they have T. Higgins? Because T. Higgins wants out. That's the other controversy going on down there in Cincinnati is that T. Higgins, he got franchise tagged and he wants out. He's not going to show up for camp, he says.
There's a lot going on at the beginning of the year for the Bengals. I thought that, we could pick these games too, Bill, and go really nuts, but we can give it a couple of months.
Yeah, we'll watch Joe Burrow go down in preseason or something, or Patrick Mahomes on a turf field early on against that pass rush that the Ravens bring, and he's out. So now I'm not gonna get into the picks just yet. But yeah, that's kind of the early trickle of games that the NFL has given us. Tomorrow, the complete unveiling of the NFL season gets underway, and we'll talk about it a lot tomorrow, and then obviously coming up on Thursday as well. 877-867-1670. You got something, please bring it. If you want to chime in, you can feel free to go ahead and do so. Hey, a great place if you're going to watch football, spend a weekend, go up in the summertime, do a little UTVing, ATVing, golf, maybe you just want to do some hiking. A tremendous getaway in the middle of the beautiful Moscano River. You can do some fishing, pontooning, kayaking. That is the Four Seasons Island Resort. It's right up there in Pembine, Wisconsin. Their sister resort is Pine Mountain up in Iron Mountain, Michigan. Both places fantastic. I love going to the Four Seasons. You know that. I've been talking about it for years, whether it's the great dining upstairs. The kids, they have the Lily's Ice Cream Parlor. They got a full-blown old-style arcade there as well. If you want to go out and do family stuff, you can. The huge pool, indoor pool. They've got hot tubs, saunas, yada, yada, yada. But they've got fine dining upstairs. They've got the lounge upstairs. You can do wine flights. You can do wine and cheese flights. You can do downstairs at Boundary Water Sports Bar and Grill. They have music on the weekends. There's so much you can do there. That's the Four Seasons Island Resort. Call them 715-938-5110. Again, 715-938-5110. If you tell them you heard it here, you get 15% off your stay. Say I heard it on the Bill Michaels Show. 715-938-5110. That is the Four Seasons Island Resort in Pembine, Wisconsin.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright. It's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 48 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 48 months when you order by May 31st. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 5/31/2024.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. This portion brought to you by our friends at the ESOR Realty Group, which stands for Excellence, Service, and Outstanding Results. That's our buddy Ben Jarvis, who was in the Army for more than 2 decades, retired, started the group, but he's very much into veterans causes and such. But he started the Realty Group. You can depend on them. They're great people. Call them 414-721-6233, 414-721-6233, or go to esorgroup.com. But also a huge sponsor of the motorcycle ride and our post-ride concert, which we will announce coming up this weekend, I promise you. Got all the details, and everything is great. I'm so excited for this. But we've got all of this coming up, and we will make the announcement. But he's a big supporter of that, and came on board and welcome them in, and put his money where his mouth is when it comes to our motorcycle ride and the post-ride concert, and helping out our friends at Fisher House, Wisconsin, and our veterans and military members' causes, along with first responders. So kudos to Ben and his staff, great people. But ESOR Realty Group, call them 414-721-6233, where they really do handle you personally. They don't just start handing you off to a bunch of different people. They really do work with you, and they know, let them prove it. But there are a lot of good people over there. There really, really are. ESOR Realty. Go to esorgroup.com. That's esorgroup.com. So got an email here. I got to ask this question, and I'll ask you too, Grant. Steve says, hey, good day. He's looking forward to the schedule release tomorrow, yada, yada. Also, he's a season ticket holder as far as a gold package goes. They're always wanting to know what the gold package games are going to be. But he does says what he's not a fan of is the primetime games that seem to go to gold package people because it's, Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, when everybody that's down in the Milwaukee area usually has to get up and go to work the next day. So he said, what do you think the primetime games are going to be for the Packers this year? So I had to kind of go over this in my head. Now, we all know the Eagles, that's going to be a Friday night game, without a doubt. So that's going to be the Friday night game. But the opponents at home are the Bears, Lions, and Vikings, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Saints, and the 49ers. Whereas on the road, it's going to be the Bears, the Lions, the Vikings, the Jaguars, the Rams, the Eagles, which we know is in Brazil, and then Seattle and Tennessee. So if you had to pick out the prime time games that would be on a Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night type of game, is because my list is this, and I see if you agree. We obviously know it's going to be the Eagles on Friday night. You got to put Caleb Williams and the Bears in one of those primetime games. You figure the 49ers, just because of the rivalry that they've had, two young quarterbacks, the fact that they battled each other in the divisional round last year in the postseason, you would figure that game. A Lions game, I would probably think of. A Lions game. I got to think Houston, with two upstart quarterbacks getting their starts last year, and for what C.J. Stroud did down there, it may not be a primetime game, but maybe a 325 game because they're both Central Division time as well anyway. And then could you say the Rams or the Vikings being a primetime game as well? That's kind of my guess for because the Packers usually end up with like 6 or 7 of them. That's kind of my guess for where the Packers would be. And that is, I think, 6 games if you include the Rams. Thoughts?
The number one game that I circled was the Texans game, because I think Sunday night or a Monday night, that feels like a Sunday night game. That seems like the NFL gets to frame that as these two guys are next. So the Texans game was the first one that came to mind. Mm-hmm. One of the Bears games, yes. One of the Lions games, maybe a Lions game. Maybe one of those feels like a Sunday 3:30 game. Maybe they don't make one of them.
I can't imagine they're going to put the Packers back over there on Thursday, Thanksgiving. I can't imagine that'll happen. So I would assume that maybe when you're right, one of those two games probably end up in prime time. It'll probably be at Lambeau Field.
So I'm chatting with Zach, who's been in the studio today, and he thinks week 2, after the Packers get sent to Brazil, he thinks they'll be at home hosting the Bears. That'll be a primetime game. That's what he thinks. That'll be their reward for going to Brazil, is Caleb Williams at home. I kind of like that.
I would tend to agree with that, because they usually do that. They'll have the Bears early and then the Bears in mid to late December. That's usually when that thing works out. Because I just know I've spent a lot of December nights in Chicago where it's nasty and cold and you're walking around for dinners and stuff. So I would agree with that. 49ers primetime?
Yeah, maybe that feels Monday nightish. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Tell me if this makes any sense to you. Packers, Texans, that seems Sunday night, very official.
Right.
Packers, Niners feels more like late night, Thursday night, Monday night.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more flyby, I don't know, less formal of a primetime matchup.
So you and I kind of agree. You got the Eagles, obviously, the Bears, the 49ers, the Lions. Houston was on my radar. And I thought maybe the Rams. Maybe you get like a Rams game, because usually you got like 6 or 7 games. And if you go by the games that we've talked about, you would probably throw in the Rams, because otherwise would it be, and I'm just looking at the rest of the schedule, Miami, maybe. 2 high-flying offenses, so to speak, young quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the Dolphins. I can't imagine it being the Colts with Richardson coming back, though. Maybe 49ers, not the Saints. The Saints, that's not an attractive matchup. Tennessee, not attractive. Maybe Seattle, new head coach, all that kind of stuff. But Jacksonville, those are the games that, when I start to look at it, obviously everybody's salivating for Caleb Williams and Jordan Love. They're salivating for Jared Goff and Jordan Love. Be the same thing for Brock Purdy, Jordan Love. You start to think of those matchups. CJ Stroud, Jordan Love. I think we're all in agreement there. Beyond that, Rams are somewhat attractive. You got Green Bay, who's always a big draw, and then LA, the big market of LA. It draws, because I'm trying to think of ratings too. What draws big ratings? New Orleans doesn't necessarily draw big ratings. Indianapolis is okay. Miami, that's a bigger city. That would draw some ratings. So I'd probably say that the Eagles, Bears, 49ers, Lions, Houston, maybe Minnesota, just because. J.J. McCarthy, new, kind of starting the new era there as well. Maybe you throw in one of those games, but I think we all agree on Houston. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
normally I'd agree Packers-Vikings gets a prime time, but I think Packers-Vikings of all the NFC North matchups now, that has to be the least interesting of all of them.
I agree.
Wouldn't the NFL rather have Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, and then the Lions and the Packers after what happened last year?
Yeah.
I don't know. So the Vikings might be tough. Are there any games, let's reverse engineer this. Are there any games in here that you're like 100% sure that we can cast aside? Like that's going to be a noon game? Like I think there are probably a couple.
Yeah, I could probably look at more than a few. I could
which game screams
Tennessee,
noon game?
Tennessee does, possibly Seattle. Yeah, I can see that happening. Where some of those are because New Orleans noon game, things like that. I just don't see those being. I don't see those being primetime games. The Packers are going to get probably 6. There's going to be one in there that's a surprising game. You could possibly throw in late afternoon games and such where you would look at, say, Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence and company, Doug Peterson coaching against his old team where he basically grew up and backed up Brett Favre for so long. There's some storylines there. But you think about ratings, and then in addition to that, you think about the storylines. Miami is Indianapolis. I could see being a noon game. Arizona, I could see being a noon game. Yeah, that's about it. Tennessee, Seattle, probably a Minnesota game, be a noon game. New Orleans, a noon game. There's not going to be many though. They're either going to be prime time or they're going to be 3:25 games. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Regional afternoon games. So. We'll see. Tomorrow it all pops out, pops loose for real. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. One more segment. Bill Michaels Show continues right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show continues on. Brewers back at it tonight. 6:40 from the ballpark. And tomorrow you've got an early game. You got a 12:10 start time. And in addition to that, tomorrow night, you have also got a couple of different things. One is you get the NFL schedule release, but don't forget tomorrow night, Admirals take the ice. First game of the conference finals, and they win this, then they're off to the Calder Cup finals. So get behind them tomorrow night. Pack UW Panther Arena as they're going to take on the Grand Rapids Griffins tomorrow night. We'll then break down tomorrow as more and more details begin to trickle out about the football season and the schedule for the Green Bay Packers. And in addition to that, on top of it, we'll then break it down even more so coming up on Thursday as well. So we've got all that going for us. Also, anything else coming up tomorrow on the program that I'm missing here, Grant?
Well, I'm trying to organize some guests and get some things lined up. I don't know entirely sure what we're going to talk about. I'm sure tonight's NBA results, and we're going to learn at some point in the next 24 hours. Todd Rosiak said we're probably going to learn the state or the timeline of Rhys Hoskins tomorrow, so we'll react to that. Later on this week's going to be fun. We got Dick Girardi coming back on to talk about the Preakness Stakes, and so this is kind of a fun time of year where we can kind of talk about whatever day to day. I mean, we're talking UW Green Bay basketball. Did you think that was going to happen when you woke up today?
No, and that's the other thing. At some point, we'll reach out and see if we can't get Doug Gottlieb on the program, friend of the show for a long, long time. So we'll see if we can't get Doug on, and then he can join us as well, as he is the new head coach of the UW Green Bay Phoenix. So we'll do that. Plus, we'll at some point, I know Mike's back at it. We'll get Mike Clemens on the program. Once the schedule comes out, we'll talk a little bit about that with Mike. And Mike's been doing a little bit of coverage for us when it comes to the ballpark. So Mike's got some stuff going on down there at American Family Field as well. So we'll touch base with him also. 877-867-1670. By the way, I got to get to some of this stuff because I wanted to make sure that I hit on a few of these things. This is from Kyle from the North Side. Said, throwing a curveball at you guys today. My wife is on the WNBA, and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are her girls. And we are definitely watching the Indiana Fever tonight with my Brewers radio on nearby. What does that say that I'd rather watch the opening night of the WNBA games rather than the NBA playoff games right now? Maybe that I'm just not that good of an NBA fan. I don't know what to think, but it says something, right? Also, I don't know how my wife and Grant knew about No Mow May, and I didn't, but I consider myself now enlightened. Yeah, the No Mow May was you don't mow your grass. You allow the bees to start pollinating things, and it helps the bee population. And I am one of those people that mow my yard, and I don't have dandelions in my yard. So I know you're not supposed to start spraying, but I'm too crazy anal about it. But I'll tell you this, the 2 people or 3 people around me, they're doing their part, man, because they got dandelions and stuff growing every damn where. And we got a lady up the street that never mows her yard. She's an elderly lady and doesn't want her yard mowed at all. And you can tell when you drive up the street, I mean, it looks like an abandoned house, for lack of a better term. But she never mows, so she's doing her part for everybody in the neighborhood. But yeah, are you going to be watching Caitlin Clark today?
I'm probably going to watch the NBA playoffs, and I'll tell you this: I will look up highlights of the Indiana Fever, and I definitely want to check it out. I'm probably not going to watch it live. I want to watch the Bruins game tonight, a little hockey, and Nuggets and Wolves.
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-WNBA. It's just there's other things that I'm a little more invested in at this moment in time.
So, I'm with you. I'm going to watch Brewers tonight, some NBA tonight. Got some work to do tonight, so I'll be just hanging in the office with the TVs going. So that's kind of my night. This is our buddy Dave in Viroqua said I would say the Lions are still a little bit of a joke as long as they have MCDC as their head coach. little bit buffoonish decisions are priceless. But that's what got him to an NFC Championship game. Yeah, the decision not to kick the field goal probably cost him, but that's what got him there. He's just that guy, you know? By the way, Big Al listening to us in Jersey said, Big Al from Jersey, you love the show. Longtime Old Packers historian. So there you go. Always love to hear from Big Al too. So that's kind of doing it for today, man. What a day. Thanks to everybody for coming on. Kurt Hogue, our buddy Chuck Freeman from the Locked On Brewers podcast, John Rothstein from CBS Sports and the college basketball analyst on a dime. He said, hey, you got me. I'll come on. And he joined us to talk about Doug Gottlieb and kind of the portal. He agrees with us, by the way. Eventually, something's going to have to happen. The NCAA doesn't want to get involved, which I find completely ridiculous because they're the ones that caused this problem to begin with. But they don't want to get involved. They don't want to universally put out something to where all these athletes are suddenly contracted to the university with buyout clauses. They don't want to do that, which I don't know how much worse it's going to get in college athletics when it comes to the portal and NIL money. But right now, the powers that be just basically say, F you, live with it, because they don't want to give up any money. They don't want to do anything about it. And it is what it is for now. So until things get worse, to make it better, we got to wait for the worst to hit. So we'll do that. So, but back at it again tomorrow, and hopefully the Brewers get a win tonight. Brewers back on the field today, 6:40, Game 2 against the Pittsburgh Pirates down at American Family Field. We'll pay attention to that. Hopefully the Rhys Hoskins news comes back later today, and it's better than what we expect. I'm saying maybe a month. Hopefully it's not as serious, and hopefully it's a couple weeks. Who knows? But man, it's just not good. Not good. So until we talk again, 20 hours from right now,